Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the third episode of the story in which Naruto almost dies at Final Valley, but fate still wants him to live. The Shinigami takes an interest in Naruto and makes him its first summoner. Watch Naruto as he shows the world what it's like to summon the Death God. This story comes from Kyubi-Goku. Make certain to support him, her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Kushina woke up and rubbed her head. Everyone had stayed out late since Jiraiya treated them all to ramen, which in the end left him with barely any money at all. When Kushina had learned from Naruto how much money Jiraiya had hoarded off her son, she made it her personal mission to have Jiraiya pay back that amount to Naruto. It amazed the woman that even when he treated them he still wasn't close to finishing his debt. The Uzumaki woman soon turned her head to see that Naruto wasn't on his side of the bed and she frowned. It wasn't like him to get up before her, but she chalked that up to just wanting to see the sun rise in the morning. Kushina gave a slow yawn and leaned up from the bed. "I wonder where Naruto is," she said, and before long she got her answer when she saw the door open. The sight she saw made the woman blush as she saw Naruto come into the room shirtless while he wore a towel over his head. He was wearing some boxer shorts, so it was mostly fine, but not for Kushina. The woman wanted to avert her eyes from the completely fit body that her son had. She felt herself entranced by his form as she looked at his arm muscles as well as his chest, with his body being so much more developed. Kushina had never seen her son in such detail since he always had some form of clothing on when they slept, but Kushina wasn't thinking about that at the moment. She figured he had just come from the shower, as the water dripping down his body was something to go by. It was probably the first time she had seen her son as more than a son at that moment. She saw a handsome man that she was sharing a bed with apparently. "I've never noticed it before, but Naruto is so dash." Kushina caught herself and widened her eyes. Immediately she averted her gaze out of embarrassment and slight shame. She was his mother. This was so wrong. There was no way she could think something like this. Naruto watched his mother out of confusion for a few minutes before he walked up to her. Her sudden behavior worried him slightly, and the blonde wondered if she was all right. He might have been confused about his slightly growing affection for his mother, but he was still her son and he figured he could still worry about her. "Ka-san, are you okay? Your face is red," Naruto said, suddenly invading her space and placing his hand on her forehead, giving Kushina a frontal view of her son. The redhead mentally gulped and quickly stood to her feet, surprising Naruto slightly. I am fine, Naruto. I'll go make breakfast now," Kushina said as she immediately grabbed her robe and wrapped it around her waist. Having done the action, she left the room as Naruto heard the rapid steps downstairs, making the blonde more confused. What's wrong with her? Naruto wondered, but he didn't dwell on it long as he sat on the bed, but the whole thing went unnoticed by Kyubi, who was grinning like mad. "I knew I was right. Oh, this is gonna be so interesting. I hope the brat is prepared for this," Kyubi thought before staying silent. Naruto sighed as he put on his black shirt and black pants. He opened his closet and took out his black shoes. He also covered the seal on his right arm with his wrist guards and strapped his sword to his back as he walked down the stairs. Naruto saw his mother cooking in an apron and the blonde gulped. He heard her humming a soft tune as she set the table. He smelled the breakfast she made and sat down, though as soon as he did his mother went silent, making the blonde nervous. "Ka-san, is something bothering you?" Naruto asked, and Kushina sighed. She tried to forget the imagine in her head a few minutes ago, but it was very hard. She hadn't been with anyone for 2 years and she wondered about that. Not to mention she also felt that she was betraying Minato by having these feelings. She had to admit that for being half his age, Naruto was a lot more fit than Minato. Plus the whisker marks made him more cute. "I'm fine, Naruto. Here, eat your breakfast," Kushina said as she avoided looking directly at Naruto's face. She couldn't bear the thought of seeing her son's piercing gaze on her, which Naruto was doing. He seemed genuinely concerned, but he decided to stop and eat his breakfast, which was rather more tense than pleasant. Neither Naruto nor Kushina could talk about anything that seemed of interest. Naruto because he was concerned about his mother and wanted to know what was wrong, and Kushina for the less than motherly feelings she was starting to have for her son. After the intense breakfast, Kushina went upstairs to get dressed while Naruto sat on the couch. He thought about his mother and why she was acting like she was, but he didn't get the chance to do that long as the doorbell rang, distracting Naruto from his thoughts. The blonde got up from the couch and opened the door. He saw Jiraiya standing there and wondered why he was here. "Ero-sennin? What's up?" Naruto asked while Jiraiya sighed and rubbed the back of his head. "Well, Tsunade wants to see you and Kushina right now. She sounded pretty serious, so I think you'd better go," Jiraiya said in a serious tone, and Naruto nodded. At that time Kushina came down the stairs in some blue jeans and red sleeveless shirt. "Well then, what are we waiting for?" she asked as they closed the door and walked towards the Hokage mansion. Jiraiya and Kushina weren't sure what this was about, but Naruto rubbed the seal on his hand as he had an idea of what the Slug Princess wanted to talk about. Hokage mansion. Naruto, Kushina and Jiraiya came into the room to see Kakashi, Sakura, and Shizune also. Kakashi was leaning up against the wall while Sakura and Shizune were beside Tsunade. "Alright, Haim, I brought them. Now can you tell us why you're so serious?" Jiraiya said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes. "Don't be so simple, Jiraiya. You know you're as curious as I am. I want to know how Kushina's alive. Not that I'm not happy to see her, but it's still an issue," Tsunade said, making Naruto mentally gulp that she confirmed his theory. Kushina seemed to understand Naruto's problem. She still remembered Naruto's talk with her about how she was alive, and while she couldn't believe it, she knew he was right. She had seen the frustration in his eyes and racked her brain with something to say. Besides, no one would believe Naruto, and not many people would want to see the Shinigami anyway. "Well, Haim, I'll admit I'm curious, but sometimes it's best not to ask questions and just accept things," Jiraiya said to her. Normally he would have been on Naruto and Kushina about it, since for 2 years they never explained anything, but to him that was their business and they would tell him if they wanted. "I understand that, Jiraiya, but I still must know." "So what do the both of you know?" Tsunade asked while Kakashi and Sakura showed concern that Naruto might be in trouble. Naruto was in a wreck. His contract was a lot more frustrating to have. "Well, Bachan, the thing is that I had left Konoha," Kushina said, interrupting Naruto. Jiraiya, Tsunade and the others turned to her, and the redhead sighed. She looked at the ground and feigned some depression, but to everyone it was believable. Naruto figured his mother could be an actor maybe. "I was told that Naruto didn't survive the extraction, and I was already sad that Minato didn't make it, so I left. I just found Naruto-kun 2 years ago in the plains of a town. Was so happy to see him, and I came back to get some answers," she said to everyone while she turned to Kakashi, who raised an eyebrow while she advanced on him. "And while we're on the subject, Kakashi, please tell me what you've been teaching my son as a shinobi?" Kushina asked, and Kakashi gulped. Sakura snickered and chuckled at her sensei. He really hadn't taught them much that she knew of. Teamwork and chakra control were it, which was quite good, but it was also a failure since Sasuke had left. I did like Minato-sensei did. He emphasized teamwork over anything, and I was teaching that to Naruto and Sakura," Kakashi said while Kushina giggled. It was more strained than anything else as she grabbed Kakashi's collar. "Kakashi, my son's taijutsu was atrocious when I taught him. He had virtually no ninjutsu techniques, and his chakra control, while quite good, could have been better. It's nice that you focused on teamwork, but no individual has skills, then teamwork is dead," Kushina said as she bonked Kakashi on the head. The Jonin winced at the pain and rubbed his head while Kushina managed to take his orange book. "And I told you to stop reading this stuff. You were too young to be reading it anyway," Kushina said, and Kakashi held his head down before a cough from Tsunade brought the woman back. Who told you that the extraction was a failure? Tsunade asked, and Kushina thought it over for a second. I don't remember. It was some doctor, but I don't remember the face anymore. It hardly matters to me anyway. I'm just happy to see my son, Kushina said with a bright smile across her face while Naruto nodded in agreement with her. They really didn't like to lie, but the situation sort of called for it, and Naruto wasn't ready to reveal his contract just yet to everyone. Tsunade and everyone else thought over her answer, and they all seemed to be okay with it, so Tsunade dropped it, for now. It was then that a Chunin bursted through the door and bowed before Tsunade, interrupting everyone. Hokage-sama, urgent news from Suna. The Chunin said, and Tsunade stood to her feet while everyone else widened their eyes. What is it? She asked readily, and the Chunin gave her a scroll. Tsunade grabbed it into her hands and unfurled it. She read it and narrowed her eyes while she gritted her teeth. Bachan, what's the problem? Naruto asked, and Tsunade glared at everyone in the room. It says that the Kazekage was kidnapped by Akatsuki, Tsunade said, making Naruto gasp, and so did everyone else. Gaara, the blonde, thought and gritted his teeth while everyone was still in shock over the news. It seems that Akatsuki is on the move. It also shows how strong they are if they can take the Kazekage, Jiraiya said, making Tsunade nod in agreement with him. Alright then, Team 7, this will be your first mission. I want you to go to Suna and find out all the details, then find a way to get Gaara back. Also, you must get there within 3 days, since it says that Kankuro has been poisoned by one of the members. Sakura, this will require you indefinitely, Tsunade said, and Sakura nodded. Kushina came up and grinned. I think I should go too, she said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes. I can't do that, Kushina. You're not a shinobi of my village, so it's not wise to do so, Tsunade said while Kushina rolled her eyes. Are you kidding, Databane? Jiraiya told me about Akatsuki. Don't underestimate my skills, Tsunade. You of all people know how strong I am. If nothing else, then I'm insurance for Naruto-kun's team. Besides, it was my understanding that a team was comprised of 4 people, not 3, Kushina said, and Tsunade mentally cursed that she was right. She wanted to refute that, but without Sasuke then the team was incomplete, even if Sakura and Naruto showed good teamwork. Come on, Haim, I agree with Kushina. You could make her the replacement for Team 7. Her skills are too much of a waste to let her not do this. Besides Kakashi, she's the only one who can fight S-rank shinobi on your team. Naruto can hold them off, but he needs experience for that. Just let her go, Haim, Jiraiya said, and Tsunade growled. This was so much easier when stuff like this wasn't happening. Alright, fine. I'll grant Kushina permission. We'll go into some detail when you come back. Now get going. Tsunade said, and everyone nodded. They quickly left the room while Tsunade massaged her temples. With Team 7, Kushina had run back to the house to change her clothes while the others were heading for the gates. They had everything they needed now, they were waiting for Kushina to arrive. I can't believe they managed to take Gaara. We've got to hurry, Naruto said, growling while Sakura tried to calm him down, but she knew it was right. Kakashi sighed with a nod, and before long Kushina came back. She was wearing some blue shorts and shin guard shoes while she wore a black shirt with mesh armor underneath it. She was carrying a sword on her back and ran past them. Come on, let's go. No time to lose, Databane, she said, and headed into the trees. Naruto quickly followed her, and so did Kakashi and Sakura. The 4 quickly rushed through the trees, but they watched as Naruto quickly passed Kushina and started to dash off in the direction of Suna. Kakashi would have told Naruto to slow down and stay with them, but Kushina was right on his tail, and he always knew about the Uzumaki woman's talent for sensory, so they were fine. Sochi, slow down. We won't get there in a day, even with your speed and my speed. Besides, you have to remember that Kakashi and Sakura aren't as fast as us, Kushina said, and Naruto gritted his teeth. He sighed and let up on his speed enough for Kakashi and Sakura to catch up to him. Naruto calmed down. "We'll save Gaara," Sakura said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes as they all rushed through the trees. "I know, but I just hate them." Akatsuki thinking they can just do that. "I hate it," Naruto said, his eyes turning red. Kushina lowered her eyes when she saw that her son might have lost a good friend. Sakura and Kakashi frowned when they saw him in distress, but they all continued to run for Sunagakure. It had been over half an hour since they started running before Sakura looked at the ground. "Hey guys, wait a minute. There's Temari-san," Sakura said, and everyone shot towards the ground. Temari turned around to see the four coming up to her and waved as they got closer to her. "Hey guys, what are you doing all the way out here?" she asked, smiling at them, but everyone was too serious and she noticed that. "We're on our way to Suna, Temari-san." "Gaara's been kidnapped," Sakura said, and Temari widened her eyes. The silence reigned in the forest as she tried to understand Sakura's words. "He's been kidnapped?" Temari asked, and Sakura nodded. "Also Kankuro-san's been poisoned." "We're going to Suna right now," Sakura said, and Temari nodded with them. "Then what are we waiting for?" she asked as she rushed off with Team 7 following her. Everyone rushed towards Suna and wasted no time in trying to get there either. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Deidara and Sasori came into a secret cavern and dropped Gaara on the ground. He was passed out from the fight he had with Deidara, while the two Akatsuki members sat down in front of the astral projections of the other members. "Jinchuriki take down him. He was kind of a pain," Deidara said while Sasori sighed. "You didn't have to bring attention to us though. That stupid explosion nearly had ever Suna-nin on us. You should be lucky that we got away," Sasori said, and Deidara waved him off. "Please, art is an explosion, Sasori my man. It's an instant effect of beauty," Deidara said, and Sasori rolled his eyes at his partner. "Wrong, Deidara. Art is to be preserved for all to enjoy," Sasori said, and most of Akatsuki watched them bicker before their leader had enough. "Sasori, Deidara, that's enough. We will begin the extraction of the Ichibi Jinchuriki. It will take 3 days to do so. Rest up and then we will start immediately," he said, making Deidara and Sasori nod in agreement with him. The two rested in the cave so they could replenish their chakra for the extraction process. 2 days later, Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, Kushina and Temari all arrived in Suna and were immediately briefed by Baki about the events. He told them how Gaara fought hard and even managed to protect the village from destruction by the Akatsuki. He also said how Kankuro followed them, but fell ill to a deadly poison that would end his life if Sakura didn't hurry. On that note, Sakura quickly assembled the medical staff of Suna and started to work on Kankuro while she had managed to get an antidote for the poison from Suna's greenhouse. Meanwhile, Naruto, Kakashi, and Kushina were sitting in the lobby of the room waiting for Sakura's verdict. Naruto tapped his foot impatiently, and the only reason that he wasn't ranting his head off was because his mother kept calming him down enough to prevent him from doing so. To think that Kankuro went down is quite a shock. Not to mention that he didn't even prove to be a challenge to them. "It shows how terrifying Akatsuki is," Kakashi said, making Naruto and Kushina nod with him. It was then that they turned to see a white-haired woman next walking up to them while she squinted her eyes at him. "That's him. The White Fang of Konoha," she said as she charged the Jonin. Kakashi widened his eyes, but Naruto intercepted the woman and matched her blow for blow that she would have tried to deal to Kakashi. "Hey, why are you targeting Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto asked while the woman narrowed her eyes. "Kakashi? He's not the White Fang of Konoha," the woman asked, and Naruto shook his head while Kakashi chuckled and rubbed the back of his head. That was my father." "I'm sorry if I confused you," Kakashi said while the woman's brother came up behind her. "Nei-chan, you're mistaken. You should apologize to them," the old man said while the woman chuckled with a hoarse laugh. "Sorry about that, I was playing dumb, hee hee," she said, making Naruto, Kakashi, and Kushina looked at her weirdly before the Uzumaki gasped and stood to her feet. "You're Chiyo. I remember you from one of my missions to Suna. You were the only woman who actually scolded me for something," Kushina said as Chiyo turned to her. She looked at the red hair and slim figure and also widened her eyes. "Is that the same brat I've seen? Kushina, you're still as young as ever. How have you been?" Chiyo said as she and Kushina shook hands. "I've been great." Completely revived, Kushina said with a smile, and Chiyo nodded, leaving Naruto and Kakashi in the dark about how Kushina knew the woman. "Oh, Naruto-kun, this is Chiyo. One of Suna's greatest puppet wielders during her time, and she might still be. I had a mission to do with my squad and I encountered her. I tell you, she was no joke, Databane," Kushina said, and Chiyo chuckled. "You still say that when you're excited, huh?" Chiyo asked, and Kushina blushed with a small smile. "So I hear that you are after my foolish grandson. I hate to think he did this. He really has no respect for this village. I introduced him to puppetry to help him with his parents being alone. How is Kankuro doing?" Chiyo asked, and Kakashi shrugged his shoulders. "We don't know. Sakura is in there now." "We might know soon," Kakashi said, and Chiyo sighed. "Well, if Tsunade's not doing, then she has her apprentice doing it then. I still think you shouldn't be interfering in Suna business, Kushibrat," Chiyo said, and Kushina rolled her eyes. "Whatever, Bachan. Just accept our help and we'll get your Kazekage back," Kushina said, and Chiyo simply sighed with a nod. It was a few more hours, but Sakura came out with sweat dripping from her forehead. Sigh, "Well, I managed to get rid of all the poison and Kankuro is resting at the moment. I gave him the cure and made 3 vials just in case. If we want to catch up to Gaara-san, I think we should do it now," Sakura said, making everyone nod. "And I'm coming with you people. I can handle myself and I'll deal with Sasori. He's become too much of a problem and I need to correct him now," Chiyo said, and while everyone else wanted to retort her, she left them no room for argument. "All right, the sun is still high in the sky, so we should get going right now," Kushina said, and everyone nodded in agreement with her. "Back in Konoha, with Tsunade, I'm sending you 4 as backup to Team 7. They probably don't need it, but with Akatsuki you can't be too careful, so I want you to back them up when you meet up with them," Tsunade said to all the members of Team Guy. The Jonin leader nodded and held a thumbs up. "All right, you guys, we need to make it there now. A day ago Kakashi sent us a messenger bird telling us where to meet up. We will head there now. With any luck we'll get there in a day," Guy said before Lee interrupted. "No, sensei, we can get there in half a day if we push ourselves," Lee said, and Tenten sighed while rubbing the back of her head. "Come on, you two. It takes at least 2 days to get there. I'm surprised that Kakashi and his group made it to Suna in 2 days. They must have really been in a hurry," Tenten said while Niji nodded. "Look, the longer we talk the better the enemy's chances are." "Let's go," Niji said, and everyone nodded. They quickly left the village with Guy leading the 3 towards the possible place where Akatsuki was due to intel received to them. With Team 7, everyone was currently packing up their stuff. They were all heading for the desert as Naruto looked up at the sky. "Gaara, I'll save you. I swear it," Naruto said, and immediately Kakashi stood in front of everyone and rubbed his head. "Our ally's Kazekage has been taken." "Well, we'll get him back now," Kakashi said, and everyone nodded. They ran off towards the place where some Suna shinobi had pinpointed a spot where they saw the 2 Akatsuki members go. "All right then, let's go now." "I don't want to let them go," Naruto said, glaring coldly as everyone ran a little faster. Chiyo and Sakura looked at Naruto in confusion. They both didn't know why the blonde could care so much about someone else or even how he could go so fast. Kushina quickly kept up with Naruto as they ran through the desert, and a good pace for everyone, and continued to run. In the cave, the Akatsuki were currently taking the chakra of the Ichibi from Gaara's body, and it was all being consumed into the statue behind them. They had been doing this for a long time, but no one was exhausted just yet. How long have we been at this? Deidara asked while Sasori sighed at him. We're almost done. Stop complaining. Those shinobi who followed us are sure to alert their allies. We'll be in for a fight if we don't finish, Sasori said while the leader turned to two of the members, one with red eyes and the other with shark skin. Itachi, Kisame, if anyone tries to come here then stop them, he said, and they both nodded. This is starting to get good. Right, Itachi-san? Kisame said as they disappeared from view, leaving the rest to everyone else. Well, on the off chance that they do meet us, we'll just have to show them what we've got, right, Sasori my man? Deidara asked, and Sasori just as easily nodded. Don't underestimate them. It will soon be time to collect the other Jinchuriki as well, the leader said, and everyone nodded in agreement with him as they continued to take the bijou from Gaara and with it his life. With Team 7, if anyone could say anything about Naruto, then they could at least say that he was crazy fast now. He was quite far ahead of everyone except Kushina, who was the only one who could stay with her son. Chiyo, Sakura and Kakashi stayed at a slower pace. They had been running without a break for about 4 hours, and they had just exited the desert and into the trees of a small valley. Naruto-kun, slow down, Kushina said, trying to calm her son, but the blonde got his hot-headedness from his mother and she knew that. We have to get to Gaara-san. I know what I can do to help him, but I'd rather he not die at all. Gaara's been alone, Ka-san. A lot longer than me. He had no one and his village hated him. He's finally the Kazekage and these bastards want to take him because of the problem inside him, Naruto said, but unknown to him the three behind the mother and son were listening also. Tell me, boy. Why do you care so much about Gaara? He's not even from your village, Chiyo said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. It doesn't matter. He's the same as me. Tell me, when you people put Shikaku inside him, did you ever think about how he felt? How Gaara would be affected by it? You only saw a chance to contain a monster and turn Gaara into a sacrifice. I don't like it. Not at all, Naruto said, and Chiyo held her head down. Sakura was about to scold Naruto for that, but Kakashi stopped her. Naruto's right. Something like this shouldn't have been done, but it was, Kakashi said, and Sakura turned to him. Kakashi-sensei, what did Naruto mean by saying that Gaara was the same as him? Sakura asked, and Kakashi narrowed his eyes. A Jinchuriki. It means a living sacrifice. Naruto knows Gaara's pain because he's also a Jinchuriki, Kakashi said, making Sakura and Chiyo widen their eyes. They both looked at Naruto in awe and shock before Sakura turned back to her sensei. So, which one does he have? Sakura asked, though if she remembered her history, which she was known for back in the academy, then she would have guessed. The Kyubi no Yoko. The one that attacked Konoha 16 years ago, Kakashi said, and Sakura stared at Naruto. She just felt ashamed of the way she acted back in her youth. He's been that way all his life and he has the time to care for someone else. I can't believe it, Sakura thought while Chiyo was thinking over some things that concerned her as she looked at Naruto. It took a little longer, but they managed to make it to the plains of a grassy field and the sight they saw shocked him. Naruto narrowed his eyes while Kakashi stood forward. Itachi Uchiha, Kakashi said while Itachi looked at the ground and felt like he just received a blast from the past when he saw Kushina. He raised an eyebrow while Kushina tried to keep her emotions under control. She remembered Itachi, but she would never imagine that this would happen. Itachi was an S-rank criminal. Well, Naruto-kun, you've grown and you brought an unexpected guest. How are you, Kushina-san? Itachi asked while Kushina narrowed her eyes even more. I'm fine, Itachi, but not the same I could say for you. Mikoto must be crushed to know you're doing this, Kushina said while Itachi brushed a hand through his hair and closed his eyes. It hardly matters anymore. In case you didn't know it, the Uchiha clan is gone, Itachi said, and Kushina widened her eyes. She never heard that from anyone. Though she did wonder why it was so vacant when she passed by it with Naruto that one time. She never imagined that Mikoto and the entire clan was gone. They're gone? Who killed them? Kushina asked and Itachi sighed. He really didn't want to talk about his past at the moment, but this seemed to be a special occasion. Shouldn't it be obvious? Since besides my little brother that I'm the only Uchiha alive. The rumors also say that only an Uchiha can defeat an Uchiha, so what do you think, Kushina-san? Itachi asked and Kushina narrowed her eyes even more. Her chakra flared while Naruto's did also. Kakashi narrowed his eye at the Uchiha and sighed. He was about to fight, but Kushina held up her hand. Kakashi, save your chakra. I've fought plenty of Uchiha before, Kushina said, and Naruto turned to her. Not without me, Ka-san. 2 Uzumaki are better than 1 Uchiha, if you know what I mean, Naruto said, and Kushina smiled. So on that note, Kakashi, Sakura and Chiyo decided to stay back, and while they wanted to pass Itachi, they were reluctant to leave Naruto and Kushina alone, since if Naruto was anything like his mother then this would need looking after. So I get 2 Uzumaki for the price of 1. Alright then, show me how much you've improved, Naruto-kun, Itachi said to him. Naruto's eyes shadowed his eyes and the blonde almost reached for his sword, but stopped. He didn't want to completely rely on his kenjutsu. The blonde turned to his mother and she nodded with him. They both turned back to Itachi and immediately took their taijutsu stance. Itachi raised an eyebrow. Naruto closed his eyes and channeled chakra to his feet. The blonde dashed for Itachi in an instant, making the Uchiha slightly surprised as he blocked a punch from the blind. Well, you got faster, Itachi said, and Naruto smiled. That's not the only thing I've learned, Naruto said before Itachi dodged out of sheer luck a kick that was sent to his side. He saw a clone beside the blonde and raised an eyebrow. When did he make a clone? Itachi wondered, but he heard a distant spiraling as he looked up into the air to see Naruto and another clone making the Rasengan. The blonde grinned as he slammed the Rasengan into Itachi's body, but widened his eyes when he saw it move as he slammed it into the ground, making a large explosion. You've really grown, Naruto-kun, Itachi said, and Naruto's eyes glowed red. The blonde turned to Itachi and smiled. Well, I at least avoided that genjutsu you tried on me. Thank goodness Ka-san drilled into me things like that, Naruto said while Itachi went through his hand signs. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Itachi yelled, sending a giant fireball at Naruto. Kakashi and Sakura expected Naruto to use his sword and that weird technique he did the last time, but the blonde didn't draw his sword. In fact, Naruto went through his own hand signs and yelled out in turn. Katan, Kogi no Erasure, fire release, firestorm, Naruto yelled, and the two fires collided, making a massive fire over the trees while Itachi narrowed his eyes. He's not the same as before, Itachi said, but he looked inside the flames and saw Kushina running for him. Her sword took the fire with her as she dashed out. Itachi took out a kunai to quickly intercept the Uzumaki woman, but Kushina did a hand sign and immediately Itachi found himself dodging chakra chains left and right. Kushina used her speed to appear behind Itachi, but the Uchiha saw it coming and blocked Kushina's sword with his kunai. However, he didn't see the smile on her face as Naruto came out of the fire and grabbed Itachi. The Uchiha widened his eyes for a split second before he turned back to Kushina. You're good, but I will show you that you can't beat me, Itachi said, and immediately he dissipated into a crow substitution while Naruto and Kushina backed away from him. Kakashi, Sakura, and Chiyo watched the two fight and marveled at them. Naruto was only a recently promoted chunin and yet he fought Itachi like any other person. It was all thanks to his mother's training. Naruto could definitely say that much. He could only imagine if he was wasting chakra by getting hit by Itachi's genjutsu and succumbing to whatever attack he would use against the blonde. Naruto-kun, are you tired? Kushina asked while Naruto scoffed. Come on Ka-san, I should be asking you that Databeo, Naruto told her and Kushina giggled. Itachi's Sharingan flared before Kushina sheathed her sword. She closed her eyes for a few seconds of focus and nodded. Go Sochi, Kushina said as she launched chakra chains at Itachi. Naruto grinned and jumped on top of one and then the other. He quickly made a Kage Bunshin and with a twist of her chain, Kushina sent Naruto high into the sky, making Itachi's eyes slightly wince as the blonde was covered by the sun. Well, you do live up to your reputation of being the Red Death, Itachi said, and Kushina smiled. Well, I'm happy you remember my title, Kushina said and ran at Itachi. The two engaged in a quick taijutsu fight with Kushina giving more hits and Itachi to block them. It was then that Kushina managed to grab Itachi with one of her chains and smiled. Go on Sochi. Show your new Rasengan, Kushina yelled, and Itachi looked up to see a blazing fireball in Naruto's hands as the blonde yelled. Utama Goen Rasengan, giant flame Rasengan, Naruto yelled as he slammed the ball into Itachi while Kushina substituted with a log as Itachi seemingly took the blunt of the explosion. The dust and dirt picked up around the area while Kakashi, Sakura, and Chio covered their eyes. What power! Sakura said while Kakashi opened his eye. That Rasengan. It's Jiraiya-sama's technique, but Naruto made it his own by expanding the ball, making it more powerful. He's amazing, Kakashi said as everyone came from hiding while Naruto stood over Itachi, but the blonde wasn't happy. He looked downright pissed off if nothing else. Naruto, what's wrong? Sakura asked and Naruto gritted his teeth. It's not Itachi, Naruto said, and Chio narrowed her eyes. We were played. This is a type of summoning. Using a soul to replace someone else's. We were stalled. We must be close, so let's go. I still can't believe that one of our councilmen was the sacrifice, Chio said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. He and the others quickly ran off. With Team Guy, everyone huffed as they leaned over the destroyed body of Kisame. They had been running for the location at an intense speed and had been running for at least a day and a half. They had left Konoha while Kakashi and his team were still in Suna and quickly made it to the point, but they had been using solider pills to push themselves. They were only to provide backup, but due to Tsunade's late actions in signing a team, they had to hurry to close the time gap. This man, he looks like Dash, Tenten started, but Niji stopped her. We can continue that later. We need to meet up with everyone else, Niji said, and Tenten nodded. Guy and Lee nodded also. They all sighed and rested for a bit to catch their breath. Guy-sensei, what was that technique you used? Lee asked while Niji clarified. Asa Kajaku, Morning Peacock. I saw Guy-sensei use it only once for training. It's a never-strong taijutsu move, Niji said, and Guy nodded. Which is why I can't use it too often. Now then, let's get going, Guy said, and the four quickly dashed off for the meet-up point. Inside the cave, Itachi and Kisame came back and both weren't happy in the least. Itachi, Kisame, we're done here. Have you found anything? Sasori asked and Itachi nodded. Konoha is coming and approaching fast. They will be here in about 8 minutes, so I suggest you two get ready or take the Ichibi Jinchuriki's body somewhere else. They're bringing the Kyubi Jinchuriki with them, Itachi said while the other members narrowed their eyes. They couldn't handle another Jinchuriki for the moment, but it was too good an opportunity to pass up. Itachi, tell Deidara and Sasori about the Kyubi Jinchuriki, their leader said, and Itachi turned to Deidara and Sasori. He closed his eyes for a few seconds and thought over his words. He thought back to his past experience with Naruto and gave them the type of person Itachi thought he was. He's the one who's arrogant. He's also the one to speak the loudest and quick to anger, Itachi said while Deidara sweat dropped. Is that all? Not very specific, is it? Deidara said, and Itachi kept his cold glare. It matters not. You will know him when you see him, Itachi said, and on that note everyone vanished from view, leaving Deidara and Sasori with a dead Gaara on the ground. Back with Team 7, Naruto and the others came towards a small ravine with a red tower over a large boulder. They looked at it for a bit and narrowed their eyes. "So Gaara is behind that wall, huh?" Naruto said, and Kakashi nodded. Sakura tightened her gloves and was about to strike the boulder, but Kushina stopped her. "Why'd you stop me?" Sakura asked, and Kushina pointed to the seal on the rock. Sakura stared at it for a few minutes while Kushina explained. "That seal is special. It will prevent even you with Tsunade strength from breaking that boulder, but that seal is complex. It will keep you from destroying that boulder. Minato was the best of us, but I was a Fuinjutsu expert also. If I'm not mistaken, then there should be 4 other seals in contrary to this one, but it seems that there's a fail-safe in them," Kushina said, and soon everyone saw 2 people jump down. "We ran all the way over here and we still got here before you guys." "Man, you're all slow," Tenten said while Lee came up to Naruto. "Naruto-san, you've really grown. How are you, my youthful friend?" Lee asked, and Naruto grinned. "Hey bushy brows, I'm good. You, Niji and Tenten have been grown also," Naruto said, but it was then that he noticed Tenten eyeing him up and down. "Nice outfit, Naruto. Your attire really has changed a lot since we last saw you," Tenten said, wondering if Naruto was up for grabs. Naruto chuckled, then turned to Niji. The two shared a friendly greeting while Guy looked at Kushina. Is it really? You can't possibly be Dash," he stuttered, but Kushina smiled. "Can we save the greetings for later?" "We have a Kazekage to save," Kushina said to them, and everyone nodded. "We came to the same conclusion about the seals as you, but we didn't know of any fail-safe." "What fail-safe could it have?" Guy asked, and Kushina narrowed her eyes. She looked at the seal intently and grinned. "Whoever did this has an adequate knowledge of Fuinjutsu. It was designed, when all of these were ripped at the same time, to create a sort of clone that would be an exact replica of yourself. The only reason I know that is because of the way the seal is placed. You can see that it was meant to be another distraction, but it will be fine. If I make 4 clones, then they can take the seals off, then disperse, leaving the fail-safe as a shattered trap," Kushina said, but Guy shook his head. "No, Kushina-san. My team is meant for backup. We'll head for the locations. We were able to rest while you guys tried to get here. We'll be fine if we be careful," Guy told them. Kushina narrowed her eyes and was about to retort, but Naruto stopped her, and the Uzumaki woman relented with a simple nod. "All right then, let's go," Guy said, as immediately the 4 of them ran off towards their destinations. Niji had been able to pinpoint them with his Byakugan, and knowing the fail-safe trap, they were all going to take their necessary precautions while Team 7 and Chio waited for them to signal that they were ready. It took about 5 to 6 minutes, but all of Team Guy found their appropriate seals. They all grabbed an edge of the seals and got ready. "Is everyone ready?" Guy said, though his hid mic, and everyone nodded. Tenten pulled her seal off along with Lee, Niji, Guy and Kakashi at the exact same time. "Go Sakura," Kakashi said, and jumped away. Sakura grinned and channeled her chakra to her fist. She charged the boulder and slammed it open, revealing the Akatsuki inside. The 5 charged in to see Deidara and Sasori next to Gaara's body, and both Akatsuki members grinned. Well, it seems that we have a little party going on, right Sasori, my man?" Deidara asked, and Sasori nodded. He then saw Chio looking at him and narrowed his eyes. "Well, I didn't expect you to come here, Bachan," Sasori said, and Chio narrowed her eyes at him also. "So many years since I've seen you. Still working with puppets, huh?" Chio asked, and Sasori nodded. "Well, of course. After all, you are the one who taught me all that I know," Sasori said as Deidara slapped Gaara's cold cheek. "It seems that you might be a little too late. We had our fun with him, now then I'll be taking him with me." Let's see if the Kyuubi Jinchuriki will react to this, Deidara said, with the last part being his thoughts. Sasori watched for any of the obvious signs also that Itachi mentioned. Naruto gritted his teeth and balled his fist. His eyes were red with anger. He saw Gaara's motionless body on the ground and tried to keep his anger under control. He would have yelled, but a worry sign from Kushina told him not to, and the blonde resisted with all his might to simply wait it out. Well, anyway, I'm gonna take him now, Deidara said as he made a clay bird that snatched Gaara into its mouth and ran off from the cave, leaving Sasori alone. Take care of them, Sasori, Deidara said, and got away, or at least he wanted to before Naruto ran off after him. He wasn't about to let Gaara get away from him, and Kushina told Kakashi to go after him just in the case of a mother worrying for her son, to which Kakashi readily agreed and ran away after Naruto, leaving the three women alone with Sasori. So I get the women. How boring, Sasori said while Kushina stepped forward. Oh, don't worry. Will be more than enough for you, Kushina said, making Sakura and Chio nod in agreement with the Uzumaki woman. Kushina, Sakura, be careful. All his weapons have been coated in poison that can numb your body in minutes, and without proper treatment it can kill you in 3 days, Chio said, making Sakura a little tense while Kushina didn't seem to mind at all. So we just don't have to get hit then, Kushina said, and Chio nodded. Don't think it will be that easy, Sasori said as he threw his tail back. He launched it at Kushina and the redhead easily dodged it while wasting no effort at all. Chio grinned and looked at her grandson. You better go all out, Sasori, or Kushina will kill you, the elderly woman said, and Sasori narrowed his eyes. Don't tell me what to do. Deidara and I have somewhere to be, and I don't like waiting to do something. Now then, I might turn you three into puppets yourselves, Sasori said, and Kushina grinned while Sakura stood beside her. Let's see you try it, Kushina said, and both charged at the puppet master. Sasori swiped his tail at Kushina, but the Uzumaki woman jumped over it effortlessly. She had been dodging faster attacks all her life, so this was almost nothing new, but she knew that this was just getting started. Sakura jumped in the air and tried to hit the puppet, but Sasori quickly moved out of the way, which surprised Sakura since the puppet's body seemed sluggish at best. It's not that easy, Sasori told them in his gruff voice, but he didn't look behind him as Kushina slashed at his puppet with her sword, making it break in pieces. Sasori managed to react in time as he jumped out of his creation. So finally showing us the real you, Sasori? Chio asked, and Sasori chuckled. He was a young man with red hair and semi-small build. Well, it might be interesting after all. I never thought that Hirako would be gone so easily. It was a great puppet, but slow. Oh well, I guess I'll give you three a show. Try not to die, since no one has lived long enough for me to have fun with this one, Sasori said as he pulled out a scroll. Instantly there was a puff while Chio widened her eyes. Kushina seemed genuinely surprised, but the only one who didn't see anything out of the ordinary was Sakura, but that was to be expected. Sasori, what have you done? Chio yelled as Sasori maneuvered the puppet behind him. Use every available resource, right, Chiyoba-chan? I hope you'll treat the Kazekage with respect, Sasori said, and blackish sand oozed out of the puppet's mouth. The Sandame Kazekage. Known for his iron sand. All the elemental nations heard about his disappearance. So it was you, huh? Kushina asked, and Sasori nodded. He makes a better puppet than a living soul, doesn't he? Sasori asked while Chio took out a scroll. It instantly poofed also, and out came two puppets that made Sasori narrow his eyes. So you did bring those things, Sasori said, and Chio nodded. You should know. They were the first puppets you made. The mother puppet and the father puppet, Chio said to him. Those things are an eyesore, Sasori said while Kushina and Sakura stepped forward. Well, eyesore or not, we're taking you down and we'll save Gaara-san, Sakura said while Sasori chuckled like he just heard something ridiculous. Well, it's good that you want to think that, but I have things to do. So on that note, let's get started with the show, Sasori said, putting his puppet in attack mode. Let's see an S-rank criminal with a Kazekage for a puppet against a medic with insane strength, a old puppet master woman, and a Kenjutsu woman. Not bad, Databane, Kushina said as the battle between them and Sasori began to start. With Naruto and Kakashi had left Kushina, Sakura, and Chio to run after Deidara, who held Gaara in his clutches. The blonde was quickly getting irritated at this game of cat and mouse with the Akatsuki member, and Kakashi knew that for a fact. He could tell that Naruto was really trying to catch up to the Akatsuki member, and he was actually starting to leave the Jonin behind. Naruto, if he doesn't slow down, will be separated by the distance, Kakashi thought while Deidara looked behind him to see Naruto still keeping up with him. He chuckled and a small grin appeared on his face. I still don't know which of them is the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, but that if I don't then I'll just capture them. Both Deidara said to himself as he put his hand in his pouch. Naruto narrowed his eyes and could tell he was going to try something soon. He then looked behind him and noticed that he had put a bit of distance between himself and Kakashi. Naruto was starting to curse his speed and turned his attention back to Deidara. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto said in thought, and immediately a clone appeared next to him. The clone grabbed his arm while Naruto used his other to take out his sword. The clone flung the blonde straight at Deidara while Naruto went through multiple hand signs. Futon, Detapa, Naruto yelled, sending a fierce wind crashing into Deidara clay bird and knocking it into a side of the cliffs. Deidara cursed when he saw Naruto in the air, but the blonde wasn't finished as he grabbed his sword, and just like with Kakashi, the Jonin could swear that Naruto commanded the waters to dance around him as the blonde gritted his teeth at Deidara. Yuzu no Fukusu, Dai Uzumaki Ikari, Naruto yelled as he charged at Deidara. The Akatsuki looked up and widened his eyes when he saw Naruto coming for him. Oi, this isn't good, Deidara said as took out a piece of clay. He formed it in the shape of a small bird and grinned. Don't get cocky, brat, Deidara said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes when he saw Deidara throw the bird at him while he held up a hand sign. Art is an explosion. Katsu, Deidara yelled as the bird exploded in front of Naruto, but before it did explode the blonde made another clone and it grabbed his arm to take him away from the damage while stopped his attack and backflipped away from Deidara. You're gonna head Gaara to me right now, Naruto yelled, making Deidara chuckle. The blonde was gonna realize that his coming here was a waste of time. Oh well, I guess no is the time to capture him, Deidara said as he made another bird and took off. Naruto cursed at him for leaving, but he also noticed that Kakashi had managed to catch up to him. Naruto, calm down. We'll get Gaara, but first we have to do something about him, Kakashi said, and Naruto nodded in agreement before he saw the mysteriously gleam in Kakashi's eye. Have you got something planned? Naruto asked, and Kakashi nodded. It would drain his chakra, but it would be worth it, he figured. That's right, but be patient with me, Naruto. This is going to take some time, Kakashi said, and Naruto gave a hesitant nod. He remembered that his mother taught him that waiting for an attack was better than any charge that someone could do. Alright sensei, but let's go before we lose him, Naruto said, and the two ran off with Naruto staying a bit ahead of Kakashi, but not enough to make him be too far ahead like last time. Don't worry, Gaara. I'll definitely save you. I know it, Naruto said in thought as the two Konoha shinobi caught up to Deidara. With Kushina, Sakura and Chio, all three girls were currently evading Sasori's iron sand and the Kazekage puppet. Chio and her mastery over her own puppets seemed to be a good mock against the Sandane Kazekage. Sakura had tried to use her insane strange to punch the puppet, but it was too fast. However, it wasn't nearly as fast as Kushina. The redhead could easily keep up with the puppet and dodged all its attack wonderfully. Sasori was really having a hard time against the three. Their fight had taken over an hour currently, and he grinned when he saw Chio huffing. Old age caught up with you, Chio-bachan, Sasori said as he sent his puppet as her. Sakura gasped while Kushina quickly intercepted the attack with her sword. She then noticed the sand oozing from its mouth and glared at Sasori. You really are cocky with this Sandaime puppet. Why don't I just restrain him? Kushina asked and Sasori wondered what she meant, but then chain came from the ground and constricted Sasori's puppet. Sakura and Chiyo watched in absolute amazement. It had been a long time since Chiyo had seen that technique. It wasn't even really a technique. Kushina just had very special chakra which was able to do something like this. Sasori widened his eyes while Kushina turned to Sakura. What are you waiting for, Databane? Punch it now. Kushina commanded and Sakura immediately charged at the puppet, but Sasori grinned. They were underestimating him and his puppet too much and the same quickly formed around his puppet while Sakura quickly punched it. The sand shook for a bit, but it didn't break, making her gasp. Don't act so arrogant. Now then it's my turn, Sasori said as a large ball of iron sand was launched into the air. Sakura and Kushina watched it, but soon the sand split into and rained down on them all. Kushina gritted her teeth and quickly made 4 clones before they each took a sword and assumed one of Kushina's greatest techniques for kenjutsu. I thank my Sochi for this new technique of mine, Kushina said as she and her clones quickly spun while they each deflected the thousands of sand needles. Hijitsu Uzumaki no Kenjutsu, Senken no Mai, hidden sword technique of the Uzumaki, dance of the thousand swords, Kushina yelled as she and her clone sometimes clashed, creating multiple streaks that also deflected the needles also. Kushina and Naruto had made this technique together during the blonde's 2 years of training. Kushina had liked the idea at the time. It took some of the principles of the Hyuga's Kaiten which focused on releasing chakra from around the body, and while the sword clanged against each other the added chakra would make the random streaks that swords normally created much stronger than usual. Sasori, Sakura, and Chiyo were all still amazed while the 2 latter were dodging them also. Soon the hail for iron needles stopped and Kushina along with her clones stopped spinning. The redhead rubbed her head for a bit. The downside to the technique was a slight loss of balance for a few minutes. She's amazing, Sakura said and Chiyo nodded in agreement with the apprentice to Tsunade. It's been a long time since I've seen Kushina's graceful swordplay. If she taught her son then he must be quite exceptional also, Chiyo said and Sakura nodded in agreement with her. When Kushina regained her sense of balance she turned to Sasori and grinned. She knew about Chiyo's hidden ability and wondered why she wasn't using it. Maybe if she and Sakura agreed to it then it would be alright. Chiyo-bachan, I think you should start getting serious. It's time you use all your resources if you can, Kushina said and Chiyo widened her eyes. She sighed with a small smile on her face. She knew Kushina was right and got to her feet. I suppose you're right, Kushina, Chiyo said as she brought the mother and father puppet back to her side. She then managed to connect chakra strings to all of Kushina's body while she then connected them to Sakura, making Sasori narrow his eyes. So we're doing that, huh? Well, that's fine with me. I can finally cut loose also. I haven't used myself in quite a good long time, Sasori said as he took off his cloak revealing the puppet-like body he had. Chiyo widened her eyes at his body while Kushina and Sakura were more or less amazed by it. Sasori, you would go that far? Chiyo asked and Sasori gave an apathetic smile. I will never die nor will I ever need anything. Puppets are art and art is everlasting. I've become a puppet therefore I am immortal. It's a amazement to become art, isn't it? Sasori asked as he took out a scroll with the Sandaime puppet continued to ooze chakra. Chiyo-bachan, I know you have those puppets with you. The puppets you used to take down an entire country, Sasori said, making Chiyo slightly nervous. It was then that hundreds of puppets flew out of the scrolls and Sasori used them also with multiple chakra strings. But I used these to conquer an entire nation. Add to the fact that I still have the Kazekage out, then your death is certain, Sasori said as all his puppets came down. Kushina grinned. She turned to Chiyo. The woman sighed and released Kushina, but not Sakura. Sakura, 10 is my limit, but all my puppets will be needed. I want you to stay back while Kushina and I handle this, Chiyo said, but Sakura shook her head. She wouldn't sit on the sidelines anymore like she did in the past. I can fight too. I'll take care of myself. Just help us beat him, Sakura said, and Chiyo nodded. She quickly detached the chakra strings from Sakura and the mother-father puppets, making them drop to the ground. She pulled out a scroll and 10 puppets in white robes came out. Shirohige, Jiki Chikamatsu no Shu, White Secret Technique, Chikamatsu's 10 puppets, Chiyo said, and everyone was ready for a fight. With Naruto and Kakashi were running after Deidara currently while Kakashi opened his eyes. Naruto gasped as he saw Kakashi's Sharingan shift into a different shape. The blonde was confused, but didn't say anything as Kakashi had to concentrate. This requires precision and timing. Now then, watch carefully, Kakashi said, and Naruto watched as a small hole appeared near Deidara. The blonde widened his eyes when he saw his arm getting sucked in. What is this thing? It's sucking me in, Deidara said as he tried to get away from it, but it held a tight hold on him. Naruto gasped as he saw Deidara's arm snap off. It was like a black hole of some kind. Naruto could only be happy that Kakashi didn't try that on him and Sakura when they fought him. Kakashi strained his eyes to focus on Deidara's form for a little longer before he closed his eyes from some kind of pain. Kakashi-sensei, are you alright? Naruto asked, and Kakashi nodded with a heavy sigh. He still didn't have the chakra to handle that technique. I'm fine. Though I wonder how long I can hold it, Kakashi said, keeping the last part to himself. He rested for a bit while Naruto stayed with Deidara. He noticed that were leaving the ravine fast, and the Jonin cursed. I'll try it one more time, Kakashi said as he strained his eye again on Deidara's body. He got a clean hit on it, but Deidara managed to dodge it in time, and Kakashi cursed as he moved it towards Deidara again. You really are annoying with that thing, Deidara said, dodged the black hole again. Kakashi cursed and closed his eyes, not being able to handle the strain of it anymore. Naruto saw Kakashi getting tired and narrowed his eyes. He could tell that things had gone on far enough, so he sighed as they came into the tree-filled area. They were quite a ways away from Kushina and the others, but Naruto trusted them all. Deidara flew a few feet further and landed his bird while it dropped Gaara down on the ground. He grinned as he made a bomb and planted it between 2 trees. Not a second before that did Naruto pass by, and Deidara grinned. He guessed that the blonde was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. He could be wrong, but he needed a guess for the moment. Katsu, he yelled, and an explosion separated Naruto from Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, are you alright? Naruto asked, and Kakashi nodded. He was about to go and help Naruto, but Deidara had other plans. I wouldn't move if I were you. I've planted bombs all around this place. Get inside and they explode. Now then, why don't you and me have some fun, Kyuubi Jinchuriki? Deidara asked, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. He gripped his sword and turned to Gaara. Give me Gaara right now. Naruto yelled, and Deidara chuckled. He knelt down and slapped Gaara's face, making Naruto seethe. Sorry kid, but he's gone. You and your little group arrived too late, Deidara said, and Naruto failed to contain his anger. He seethed and his eyes grew red. He felt so damn pissed off. He quickly made a clone and dashed at Deidara. The blonde went through his hand signs and yelled at him. Futon, Detapa, Naruto yelled, sending the fierce wind at Deidara. The Akatsuki member managed to dodge the attack, but he didn't see the clone blur out of his field of vision, and it appeared behind him. You damn Akatsuki. Playing with people's lives. Who do you think you are? Naruto yelled, unconsciously taking Kyuubi's chakra before he slammed Deidara across the face and into the ground. He narrowed his eyes when he saw it was a clay clone and gritted his teeth. Red chakra started to envelope his body, and the blonde looked around for Deidara. Man, this guy is a freak, but I'll show him with this, Deidara said as he went into his pouch, but gasped. He was out of clay and he didn't have any more to use. Naruto chuckled mysteriously as he turned to a specific tree. Alright, if you won't come out then I'll give you no place to hide, Naruto yelled as he took out his sword. Naruto, calm down, Kakashi yelled, but the blonde didn't hear him. He quickly breathed easily and his sword started to hum. It's new to me, but I'll use it. Yuzu no Ikari, Shinku Nami, Whirlpool Rage, Vacuum Waves, Naruto yelled as he sent wind blazes around the forest, cutting all the trees in the vicinity. Kakashi widened his eyes at what Naruto did and so did Deidara. This guy really is a freak. In any case, I can't fight them now. I'll just have to leave for now, Deidara said to himself. Naruto huffed as he surveyed the landscape. He didn't see any sight of the Akatsuki member and cursed. This was not his day. The blonde sighed and turned to see Gaara's lifeless body. He looked at his sword for a second before Kakashi came up to him. We did all we could, Naruto. It's not your fault, Kakashi said, and Naruto settled for simply looking at Gaara. They heard a giant explosion a few miles away and turned to see that it was where Kushina, Sakura and Chiyo were. Back with Kushina, Sakura and Chiyo, all the women huffed as they looked around the place. It was a very destroyed battlefield. Hundreds of puppet parts were everywhere. Kushina was huffing and so were Sakura and Chiyo. Kushina was next to Sasori with her sword right through his most vital spot. The small little hole where his life really was. Sasori coughed up some blood while Kushina impaled him. Sasori narrowed his eyes and sighed. In the end, I hesitated. Guess I really am human after all, Sasori said, and Chiyo nodded. Kushina took her blade out of Sasori's chest while Sasori looked at the mother and father puppets. Humph, how unsightly. I can't believe I lost, Sasori said, and everyone sighed. He then turned to Sakura and grinned. I remember somewhere in our fight you mentioned Sasuke, Uchiha and Orochimaru, that damn traitor. Well, in exchange for beating me I'll give you some information. I have a contact who was supposed to meet me at a certain bridge north of here. Maybe he'll have some information for you, Sasori said, and Sakura widened her eyes. Why are you doing this for us? Sakura asked, and Sasori rolled his eyes. Like I said, it's for you beating me. Just go before and cause Orochimaru a damn headache like I would've, Sasori said while he closed his eyes. He turned to see his first made puppets on the ground and slumped to the ground also while everyone looked at him. Come on, we have other things to do, Kushina said, knowing they wouldn't leave if this kept up. Sakura and Chiyo nodded and left the cavern as they left to catch up to Naruto and Kakashi. It took about half an hour, but everyone finally rejoined as they looked at Sasori's lifeless body. Chiyo stared at the redhead boy and advanced towards Gaara. She knew what she had to do. Sakura and Kushina watched her advance, but Kushina more or less looked at Naruto. Chiyo knelt down and placed her hands on Gaara's chest. Sakura looked sad, as did everyone else, but Naruto stopped Chiyo as he patted her on the shoulder. Don't do it, Naruto said, and Chiyo raised an eyebrow. He might not have known what he was going to do, but it involved Gaara, so he figured she would bring him back, but Naruto shook his head. Sakura widened her eyes. Naruto, what are you talking about? She's going to bring Gaara back, Sakura said, but Naruto glared at her with some coldness in his eyes that made her flinch. He turned to his mother as if secretly telling her what he was going to do. Kushina nodded in understanding and patted Sakura's shoulder. Calm down. My son knows what he's doing, Kushina said as Naruto picked up Gaara's body. Soon before he could leave, Team Guy came back and they looked a lot worse for wear. Guy, you made it, Kakashi said, and the Jonin nodded, huffing. Yeah, we made it. We were resting a few feet away, so we all regrouped. Did we make it? Lee asked, making Kakashi and Sakura hold their heads down. Chio looked full of remorse while the others turned to see Gaara in Naruto's arms. I guess we didn't make it, huh? Tenten said while Sakura glared at Naruto. Chio-sama was planning to resurrect Gaara, but Naruto stopped her. We have no idea why, Sakura said, and everyone looked at Naruto strangely. The blonde narrowed his eyes and walked away, but Kakashi grabbed his shoulder. Naruto, I know it's hard, but you must let Chio-sama do what she needs to do. Don't you want Gaara back? Kakashi asked and Naruto nodded. So place him down, Kakashi said, but then Naruto shook his head, confusing everyone except Kushina. Naruto, why are you being so selfish? It's not like you, Tenten asked and Naruto sighed. He knew they wouldn't understand and even less they wouldn't believe him. Listen guys. I'm sorry if I'm being selfish, but I need to do this. Just trust me on that, and whatever you do, don't follow me, Naruto said as he carried Gaara towards a few other trees that weren't cut down by the blonde as he left everyone in the plains. What's he going to do? Sakura asked. Everyone wasn't sure how to answer him, but Kushina sighed as she watched her son leave. Well, let's trust him for now. He's not the type to lie, and if he is, then he's quite horrible at it, just like his father. Kushina said, smiling while everyone chuckled at her. With Naruto sighed in relief as no one seemed to be following him. He placed Gaara on the ground and undid the wrist guard on his clothing, showing the seal that changed and is still changing his life. You alright, Kit? Kyubi asked and Naruto bit his thumb. He traced his blonde over the seal and sighed. I hate not telling them, but I'm still trying to be smart about this, Kyubi. I'd be more than glad to tell them about all of this, but what's the point if they don't believe it, Naruto said, and Kyubi simply rested in its cage. You're probably not giving them that much credit. After all, the only ones who know about this deal are you, your mother, and me. It's understandable, I guess. Humph, you're such a chicken though, the fox said, and Naruto sighed. He had to give a small chuckle to that despite the situation. Kuchios no Jutsu, Naruto yelled as his seal glowed and then faded out like always. He waited for a few minutes, then turned around. Sure enough, his summon was right behind him, glaring at him with his cold, steely eyes as usual. Something I need me to do this time? The Shinigami asked and Naruto nodded. He knelt down to Gaara's lifeless body. He then turned back to the Shinigami who was still watching him. I'd like to revive Sabaka no Gaara. I agree to the terms of condition. I'll give you a replacement and the addition before the week is up, Naruto said, and the Shinigami nodded. The blonde watched as Shin opened his hand to reveal the beads he had and shook them. The beads glowed for a bit and soon a light enveloped Gaara's body. Naruto watched the Shinigami work. The light faded after a while as Naruto checked on Gaara. To the blonde's relief, the former container of the Ichibi groaned while his eyes stayed closed. Thank you, Shin. Gaara didn't have to die, Naruto said, and the Shinigami narrowed his eyes at the blonde. Everyone dies at some point, well except you at this point, but now that you've agreed to a second person being revived and you've slightly improved as the first human Shinigami, I shall tell you of the next ability you have as my summoner, but later. Right now isn't the best time, the Shinigami said, and Naruto nodded. With that, the death god faded into nothingness while Naruto stared at Gaara. The Ichibi Jinchuriki opened his eyes to see Naruto smiling at him. Hey man, how are you doing? Naruto asked and Gaara settled for staring at him. I'm alive. But how? I don't feel Shikaku anymore, so it was taken. I was captured by Akatsuki. I could feel my life dwindling so much now I'm here. It's strange, Gaara said, and before long Naruto picked him up and put the Kazekage's arm around his back while Naruto dragged him back to everyone else. Don't worry about it, man. I gotcha, Naruto said as they came back to the clearing. They were both astonished by the sheer number of Suna shinobi who came to get the Kazekage, but no one was more surprised than Naruto's friends. Sakura widened her eyes and so did everyone else. Chiyo wondered what Naruto did to see Gaara so alive and well. It wasn't any type of clone, but since the chakra signature was exactly the same. My, that boy is full of surprises, Chiyo said while Kushina nodded with a small smile on her face. That's my son, Kushina said, and before long everyone greeted the two and carefully inspected Gaara for any serious injuries. The Kazekage then turned to see Chiyo smiling at him, and the youngest Sabaku of the family gave her a small smile on his own, but it was almost unnoticeable. Gaara-sama, you're alright, someone said, hugging the redhead, but Gaara still felt a bit hazy about everything. However, he could think about that later. He gently smiled and stood forward. Everyone thank Naruto Uzumaki and his friends. Without them I might not be here right now, Gaara said, and everyone turned to the blonde he was talking about. They all bowed to Naruto with their thanks for saving their Kazekage. The blonde blushed and rubbed the back of his head while others thanked his team also. Meanwhile, Sakura was tending to Guy and his team since their fight. You four are crazy. You all have mild chakra exhaustion and you're all exhausted beyond belief. Guy-san, you really should have let Kushina-san go with her plan, Sakura said, making Kushina nod, but Guy gave Sakura a thumbs up while he grinned. So long as you have the flames of youth you can conquer any opponent, Guy said, making most of them sigh. Well, I'll be more than happy to get some rest. I'm tired, Chiyo said, rubbing her bones. Kushina nodded in agreement with her, which Gaara and Naruto overheard also. Well, Suna will be more than happy to offer everyone some rooms. It's the least we can do, someone said as the people cheered. Everyone smiled with a nod while Tenten sat on the ground. Getting praised might not be such a bad thing after all, she said, and everyone chuckled at her. They all spent a bit more time in the fields before finally leaving in a good mood that they had. For some reason, Naruto was happy that he dodged his team's questions for the moment. Suna, nighttime. The entire village was in an uproar over their Kazekage's return along with the blonde and his teammates rescuing him. Naruto smiled at the thought of it. He also felt much happier that there wouldn't be any grief over Chiyo's death if he let her go with what she probably had planned. He was happy that he just avoided a meaningless death. The blonde was currently on one of the Suna house rooftops while he watched the small celebration taking place. While he enjoyed hanging out and partying at times, right now he just preferred to be out of the way for some reason. He had a cup in his hand while he watched Gaara go through the hundreds of people who missed him along with his siblings. Well, looks like they're having fun, Naruto said to himself, but he failed to realize that he wasn't alone. I know they are, so why aren't you joining them? Naruto turned around to see his mother walking up to him, and the blonde shrugged. He saw the gentle smile on her face as the two Uzumaki leaned on the fence that surrounded the house. Kushina stared her son for a few minutes and simply marveled at him for plenty of different reasons. 1. Because he seemed so complex to her thinking sometimes. 2. Was because he was dealing with a heavy gift and burden of being the Shinigami's summoner. Kushina just wasn't sure if she could handle such a thing, but here her son was handling it like a true Uzumaki. While the third was more of an unmotherly type of reason. She had marveled at her son as a man. The blonde had so much potential to his name, and he always managed to make her smile. Truth be told, Kushina had been sort of jealous when Tenten asked if Naruto was seeing anyone. She wasn't sure why, but she wasn't completely oblivious to the way her son looked at her. Hearing her son's life, he could tell that he knew next to nothing about women, which she partially blamed his academy instructors for that. Soon, while Kushina was going on about her son and her unmotherly feelings for him, she was then brought back to the time when she saw her son with nothing but a towel and his boxers on. It was the first time that she had looked at him so intently. She could obviously tell that he was fit and good-looking, which Tenten had clarified that one time. His strong arms, amazing chest, and plenty of other things. It was only when she noticed her son looking at her that she broke from her stupor and turned away with a slight blush on her face. What's wrong with me? Why am I even thinking about this? Kushina wondered. Unknown to her, Naruto was thinking about things with his mother also. It was undoubted by him that he loved his mother, as her son. When he revived her, she was easily the prettiest woman he had ever seen. He was happy that such a woman was his mother, but he also wasn't, as he found himself growing more and more attached to her. He always figured that he'd love Sakura, but she was becoming more and more secluded from his mind as he realized that he'd stopped with the chan suffix to her name. He also remembered when someone had hit on his mother, and the jealousy in the blonde was sort of evident at the time. He had pounded the guy like there was no tomorrow. To Kushina it was quite endearing to see her son like that. Naruto also remembered those times when he had supposedly been asleep only to see his mother in her nightgown, which always made Naruto blush. He was by no means an expert on sex and the like, but when you travel with the world's #1 pervert you learn a few things even if you don't really want to. Kyuso, why am I worried about this? It's so wrong to think this. What if she hates me? I don't want that. She'll think I'm a pervert, Naruto said, but then he heard Kyubi laughing like mad, though he could vary. Well, ignore the fox if he put his mind to it. He continued to look at her as the cool wind blowed across the village, making her hair slightly blow with it, giving her a pleasant look. Kushina turned back to see her son staring at her intently, and both weren't sure, but they had been like that for quite a long time, just staring and checking each other out, though it was Kushina who broke the silence first. So the night air is nice, isn't it? Kushina asked, shooting blank words to say as there wasn't much to talk about. Naruto nodded with her question and looked down to see Gaara talking to everyone about resuming his Kage position for Suna, making people cheer. I suppose, although it's nice to see Suna happy with having Gaara back, Naruto said, and Kushina nodded. She moved slightly closer to Naruto while the smile never left her face. Naruto looked at her weirdly with a smile of his own. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to be a ninja again? Naruto asked his mother, and Kushina shrugged her shoulder. She wasn't sure either, but she had an idea in mind. Well, I have an idea, so I'll take with Tsunade when we get back. Not to mention I need to have a talk with both her and Kakashi about something, but that's for later. I also think that maybe I should dash. Kushina stopped when she felt her lips covered. She widened her eyes when felt Naruto near her. He was kissing her. Kushina wondered where this came from, but she was also wondering how this happened. Before anything happened, Naruto widened his eyes and backed away from his mother. He stopped and gulped. Sochi, why did you kiss me? Kushina asked, but Naruto blushed and looked away. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I mean, what I was trying to do was Naruto's head was in overdrive. He just kissed his mother, which shocked the woman. She would have pushed the blonde away, but Naruto stepped away before she could do anything like it. Kushina touched her lips and Naruto gulped. He just possibly destroyed his relationship with his mother, but Naruto couldn't deny how he felt. He actually felt like it for 2 years, and only now was he ever acting on it. Ka-chan, can I tell you something? Naruto asked, and Kushina gave her son her undivided attention. Naruto hesitated and really knew this was wrong, but he just decided that she deserved to know. At least he could live with himself if he got a reply. Okay, so that was half a lie. A rejection would really destroy him. What is it, Naruto-kun? Kushina asked, and the blonde sighed. For Kyubi, if he could move, he would have been sitting in a chair munching on some popcorn like he was watching his favorite play start. It was amazing. I know it's wrong, Ka-chan, and I know what I want is impossible, Naruto said as he grabbed his mother's shoulders, making Kushina gasp. She locked her eyes with his as Naruto sighed. I love you, Ka-chan. For the past 2 years since I saw you, I've had some feelings for you, and I don't know what to expect from you, but I had to say that, Naruto told her, and Kushina widened her eyes. She felt Naruto's powerful arms grab hers as he gave her his confession. And Naruto, I don't know what to say, Kushina said, looking down, and Naruto did the same. He looked confused for a bit, but simply pushed forward and kissed his mother again, making Kushina gasp. She felt the smoothness of her son's lips. Kushina slightly felt her legs tremble while Naruto wrapped his arms around his mother. It wasn't an in-depth kiss, but it was still a kiss that shocked Kushina. She was kissing her son and she was sort of liking it. The redhead gasped and caught herself. She quickly pushed Naruto away from her and backed away slightly. "Sochi, you can't. It's wrong, so you should just stop," Kushina said, and Naruto sighed. He looked at the ground and nodded. "I know it's wrong, but I can't help it, Ka-chan. You're so pretty and beautiful," Naruto said to her, but Kushina didn't want her son to think like that. She unconsciously touched her lips while she looked at Naruto's depressed face. She would be lying if she said that she didn't feel anything in that kiss they just had. Minato had never kissed her so passionately before in the times they were together. It wasn't even that long, yet it felt good to her. The Uzumaki woman shook her head and sighed. "Can we just forget about it?" she asked, hoping to mend the small knot that came to their mother-son relationship, but to her dismay Naruto just turned from her and leaned his elbows on the railing. He saw Gaara looking at him. Naruto gave him a fake smile and waved, but Gaara could see the slight depression in his eyes. He wondered what was wrong with the blonde and aimed to find out. "I'm sorry, Ka-chan, but I can't forget about it." "I'm sorry that I kissed you," Naruto said, and Kushina looked saddened. She slightly regretted her talk for that second as she realized that Naruto might have been serious. "Naruto, don't ignore your mother," Kushina said, as she never wanted to see Naruto distressed over this. Naruto sighed and turned around. "It's alright, Ka-chan. You can just go." "I'll stay here for a little while," Naruto said to her, and Kushina widened her eyes. Even though he didn't see it, Naruto knew his mother was heartbroken and simply walked away. He stayed on the roof and sighed. This wasn't how he wanted things at all. It was then that the door opened and Naruto thought it was his mother again, but the sound he heard wasn't it. "So this is where you were? Mind telling me why you're up here by yourself?" Gaara asked, and Naruto shook his head. "It's no big deal, Gaara. Just women troubles," the blonde responded, and the Kazekage was shocked, or at least surprised, even if he didn't show it. He never figured that Naruto would have such thins for women. Well, he hoped that Naruto at least liked women, which the blonde did, but that was beside the point. "I see. Well, I'm not really one for it either," Gaara said, and Naruto chuckled at him, making Gaara raise an eyebrow. "Don't tell me you haven't noticed it," Naruto said, remembering how that Matsuri girl acted around the Kazekage. Meanwhile, Gaara simply settled for staring at the blonde, and Naruto chuckled. "Well, never mind. Tell me, Gaara, what do you think it means when to love your parents?" Naruto asked, and Gaara looked back out at the village. He imagined his mother and how she might be smiling at him for being the Kazekage. "I don't know what you mean by that. Isn't loving your parents a normal thing?" Gaara asked, and Naruto nodded that it was true, but not this type of love at all. "Well, it's more than that," Naruto said, and Gaara narrowed his eyes. He knew what Naruto was talking about, and Gaara turned to Naruto. Well, I can't tell you anything. I remember that time when you told me that I should protect what's precious to me, then I'll understand how to love not just myself, but others, and grow stronger. I can't tell you how to do things, but you should know for yourself what you want and how to get it. In this world, second-guessing yourself might get you killed. If you think something is right by your standards, then that's you. No one can take that from you," Gaara said to him. Naruto seemed to brighten up as he smiled. He figured that was true. "I guess you're right, Gaara. So who you go after, Temari?" Naruto asked, and Gaara glared at his friend. Naruto chuckled and nodded. "No? Alright, I gotcha, Dadabayo," Naruto said, and Gaara settled down. "Well, man, I'm gonna go. I'm going to have a long talk with someone," Naruto said, and Gaara nodded. The blonde shined from the spot and into a vacant place. He didn't see anyone around and bit his thumb. "Kuchios no Jutsu," Naruto yelled, and his seal glowed before fading. Immediately he turned around to see the Shinigami staring at him. So what was it that you wanted to tell me from earlier? Naruto asked and Shin nodded. He looked up at the moon for a second then looked back down at Naruto. Now that you've had some experience with being my summoner you will inherit the gift that I gave to you. Granted it has some limits, but it still works just as good, Shin said and Naruto nodded. Since you can revive people you are given a certain amount of control over them. Nothing too over your head at the moment. For the moment you can only control the things they say or more precisely if you allow it, they can never lie to you. I'm starting you off with that since you're still new to this. When I think you're ready you'll get another part of the deal which will be a secret for now. I'm leaving now, the Shinigami said leaving Naruto in the dark alley. The blonde sighed and pouted. That wasn't much of a new ability if he thought about it. He expected something good, but that seemed so boring. He could only control the truth and lies that came out of someone's mouth. That was no fun at all and then there was the secrecy to it all. I feel like I just got played Databeo, Naruto said making Kyuubi grin. I think you did too. Oh well no point in complaining now go find your mother and go be the motherfucker I know you are. Kyuubi said and Naruto blushed he quickly sighed and looked at the sky. Arrow Kyuubi. I swear ever since I talked with you about this thing like 2 years ago you've never let up at all. It's like you enjoy causing me grief, Naruto said and Kyuubi rolled his eyes. Hey I'm stuck in this stupid cage with no way of getting out while my ass is sitting in sewer water. How would you get your fun? Kyuubi asked and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Should I change it for you then? Naruto asked and Kyuubi instantly brightened its face. That would be great. Make it hellish a few demons around the place and the local demoness, Kyuubi said grinning like mad. Naruto sighed as he walked towards his room where he was sure that his mother was there. Fine I guess. You really are a weird fox. You're not like when I first met you all evil and arrogant, Naruto said and Kyuubi rolled his eyes. Oh shut up Kit. It's not even like that. I'm still a prideful fox and to be stuck inside you is almost a fate worse than death, Kyuubi stated and Naruto simply smiled as he headed through the crowds and up the stairs of his house. You said almost, Naruto said and Kyuubi nodded with some slight annoyance. Well seeing you sweat over getting it on with your mother is kind of nice to see, Kyuubi said and Naruto rolled his eyes. He really did have a weird kitsune for Bijou. Naruto came up to his room door and got up the nerve to knock on the door. He was quite happy when he got a reply at the door. Who is it? Kushina asked in a semi-happy tone that Naruto picked up on. The blonde sighed as he gulped down the urge to run, but he was Naruto Uzumaki and he never ran. It's me Ka-chan, Naruto said and soon there was silence for about a few minutes in the room. Come in, Kushina said after what seemed like an eternity to the blonde. Naruto opened the door and saw his mother on the bed. Naruto calmly made his way to his mother and sat down next to her. Kushina stared at the floor like she was too ashamed to look at her son, but Naruto sighed as he looked at the wall. The tension in the air was very intense even Kyuubi was feeling and he was currently enjoying his new domain-looking place. Say something and stop sitting there like an idiot which you are, but still, Kyuubi yelled making Naruto slightly jump. Ka-chan do you really think it's wrong? Naruto asked unexpectedly making Kushina raise an eyebrow at the floor. Is what wrong? Kushina asked and Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Is it wrong that I said I love you more than a son normally does? Naruto responded and Kushina slightly blushed, but she nodded her head that it. Yes Sochi, you can't be in love with me. You should find a nice girl your own age inside of me, Kushina said and Naruto rubbed his eyes. It was almost getting late, but they knew they weren't going anywhere for at least 2 days so that was fine since Kakashi had chakra exhaustion from his new Sharingan. Ka-san you know my life and there aren't that many nice girls who would understand the real me, Naruto answered and Kushina found that to be true in some cases. It was sort of like that for Minato in a few ways. Then Kushina stopped herself. She kept comparing Naruto to Minato and she needed to stop it. She would only focus on her son for now. Well, I know that girl 1010 thought you were cute and she's right, you're quite the dash. Kushina widened her eyes and stopped while Naruto secretly smiled. He just got his mother to admit something about him. Anyway, you can't be with me. It's wrong, Databane, Kushina said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. You always saw Databane when you're excited. You're excited by this conversation? Naruto asked, and Kushina blushed again before she tried to cover it up. Rather than excitement, this is embarrassment, Databane, Kushina said, and Naruto smiled while Kushina giggled, but the blonde didn't want to wave the conversation in another direction. Who says it's wrong? Naruto asked, and Kushina paused, not understanding the question. What do you mean? Kushina asked, and Naruto turned to see her looking at her. Kushina might not have known or tried to show it, but she was interested in the fact that Naruto was trying to weave her into the forbidden things he wanted from her. I mean, who says that I can't be with you even if we're related? Naruto asked, and Kushina thought that over. Attaboy, Kit. Use those loopholes, Kyubi said as he watched the conversation going on. It's not like anyone specifically said it was wrong, Sochi, but rather nearly all of society finds it wrong because it's unnatural for family to love family. Don't you care what people think of you? Kushina asked, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Of course, Ka-chan. I always wanted people to see me as myself and not Kyubi. I wanted to be recognized and accepted. I did care what people thought of me, but I also don't let it control my life. If I want something, I get it, Databeo. Heck, people hated my orange jumpsuit, but I liked it. Even if all of society hates my clothes, they can't take away my desire to wear it around like the awesome color it was. To me it's the same thing as this, Naruto said, and Kushina mentally cursed that her son made so much sense. She really had been teaching him way too much in order for her of all people to get stumped in a conversation. Naruto waited for her try at countering him, but the redhead for all her life couldn't find one. Be honest, Ka-chan. Is it about Tu-chan that you can't? Naruto asked, and Kushina quickly raised her head. Naruto looked at her intently and she mentally crumbled under his gaze. What would Minato say, Sochi? I can't do that to him, Kushina said, and Naruto got to his feet, surprising Kushina. He'd say, good job, Naruto, keep your mother happy. I know you can do it, Naruto said, and Kushina stared at him blankly while her eyes blinked a few times. She suddenly giggled, and Naruto had to admit that it was the nicest one he'd ever heard in a while. Why is it that you can always make me smile despite the situations, Databane? Kushina asked, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. He quickly walked over to his mother, making the Uzumaki woman look up. Naruto felt his heart skip a beat for a second before he leaned close to his mother. Can I kiss you, Databeo? Naruto asked, and Kushina looked at him. No, she said instantly, but Naruto didn't falter. He then lowered his head a little more closer to her face. How about now? The blonde asked his mother, and Kushina stiffened. She wanted to move, she really did, but the strength was leaving her legs. No, she said again, and Naruto moved a little closer again. Now? He asked, but his answer was the same. This happened for about 2 more times as Naruto was just inches from his mother's face, enough for him to feel her breath over his. Now, Databeo? Naruto asked again, and Kushina tried to back away, but she was on the side of the bed, so her legs were locked at the edge of the bed. And no, Kushina said, and Naruto smiled as he pushed his lips back to his mother's. Kushina widened her eyes while Naruto quickly kissed a bit more aggressively. Kushina felt her body slowly heat up slightly while she felt her son's lips over hers. She didn't want to admit it, she shouldn't admit it, but she felt a small satisfaction from it. Kushina shivered for a bit, but then gently stopped Naruto as she pushed him off her. Sochi, let me think. I'm tired and I want to think this over a little later, Kushina said, and Naruto sighed. He wanted to continue, but the blonde relented and stopped. He backed away from his mother and rubbed the back of his head. Alright, I'm gonna go wash up and get ready for bed. See you tomorrow, Ka-chan, Naruto said, disappearing into the bathroom while Kushina placed her hands on her knees and looked at the ground. Why do I have such a carefree son? Kushina wondered as she placed a finger to her lips before getting ready for bed. She knew it would be hard to sleep after their talk, but she hoped she would manage even if she was starting to succumb to her own wants and desires, but that was for another day. Morning, Suna Gates, Naruto and the rest of his friends stood in front of Gaara and his siblings as they were about to leave. Everyone had been fine for the time being and were ready to leave, but Gaara decided to bid them all a goodbye along with Chio. Well, I guess this is where you shake hands or something like that, right? Naruto asked sheepishly while Gaara gave a small smile. He then held out his hand, surprising the blonde, but he quickly grinned as he shook the former Ichibi Jinchuriki's hand. Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki, Gaara said, and Naruto simply settled for nodding as they waved goodbye to Gaara and his family. They quickly grabbed their things and headed on their way. The trip had started silent as there wasn't much to talk about with anyone. Naruto managed to spare a glance at Kushina, but he saw her eyes looking more at the ground than what was in front of her. She appeared to be in some real thought and Naruto wanted to say something to her, but he figured he'd better not and let her think. He didn't want to push her away with his usual annoyance, so he left her alone, which Kushina seemed to notice and was slightly thankful for. Still, I can't believe Gaara was alive. Naruto, what did you do? Tenten asked, and Naruto widened his eyes. He soon felt the eyes of everyone on him as the blonde gulped. He mentally cursed Tenten in her mouth, but could tell she was just curious. It's rather hard to explain, you know, Naruto said, but the gazes only continued to burn into him. You did do something stupid, did you? Sakura asked, and making Kushina's eyebrow twitch. Naruto glared at her before rolling his eyes. I'm the same idiot you think I am, Sakura. I'd like a little more credit than that. Alright, if you want to know what I did then I'll tell you, Naruto said, and Kushina wondered if he was really doing to say something about his contract with the Shinigami. Everyone paid attention to Naruto's words and couldn't wait to hear him. During my travels with Kaa-san and Ero-senin, I came across a book on a certain chakra control exercise that talks about sending chakra throughout the body. Once the chakra is inside the body, you must send it to the vital organs. This works for people who are alive or have only been dead for a few hours. I don't remember what the book was called, Naruto said, and everyone wondered if there was such a book. Was it a medical book? Sakura asked, really interested in the aspect of such a thing, and everyone agreed with her. If they could use that, then they would be considered an amazing nation to accomplish it, but their hopes were shot down when Naruto shook his head. It wasn't a medical book of any kind that I'm not sure of, but it's also impossible to do unless you have good chakra control along with my level of chakra reserves, otherwise you'll die, Naruto said, making the others gulp slightly. Kushina snickered a bit at her son's ingenuity and hated to admit it, but Naruto got that from her rather than Minato, and she enjoyed that side of him. Everyone contemplated Naruto's words for a bit and thought them over. They seemed to make sense even if everyone thought it was strange like that. I never thought there was such a technique like that. Or that Naruto would pick up a book, but there must be stranger things in the world, Tenten said, making mostly everyone smiled, and Naruto just blushed with slight embarrassment. Well, Naruto, why didn't you just tell us that instead of taking Gaara-san to the woods? Neji asked, and again all eyes were on Naruto, but the blonde suspected that question also and already had an answer for it. 'Cause I need quiet and I knew you guys would be too busy yelling at me to let me do what I needed. Case when I tried to take Gaara and you guys said I was being selfish. If I told you about what I was going to do, then you would have thought I was insane, Databeo, Naruto said with a small shrug as everyone felt the guilt set in for them. I suppose Naruto-san has a point. Well, we shouldn't have doubted our youthful friend. Thanks to him, Chiyo-sama is alive and well, and so is Gaara-san, Lee said while Guy wrapped his arm around Lee's neck. That right, Lee? We have much to thank Naruto for. He is a great shinobi, Guy said, making everyone nod in agreement with him, before they turned around. Kakashi, why are you moving so slow? Tenten asked as they saw Kakashi straggling while he sheepishly grinning. Sorry everyone. This new Sharingan takes a lot out of me, Kakashi said as he continued to lag behind them, and to most of the others it was rather sad, and by other that meant Guy. Here I come, Kakashi, Guy said as everyone turned to see Guy toss a screaming Kakashi into the air. They all sweat dropped and shivered, and they saw Guy give Kakashi a piggyback ride. What the hell? Naruto asked, and Kushina agreed with her son. Grown men doing some stupid piggyback. Damn, that's creepy, Sakura said while Tenten sighed and Neji slightly scowled in annoyance. Well then, Kakashi, I will take you back to Konoha on my back, or I will do 10,000 laps around the village on my hands, Guy said as they ran off, immediately leaving everyone behind in a large state of shock. They shouldn't even be in motion, Databane, Kushina said, making everyone nod in agreement with her before the redhead saw her son's eyes gleam. Naruto quickly rushed for his mother and picked her up bridal style, quickly making Kushina wrap her arms around her son's neck as Naruto chuckled. Well, I'll see you guys at the village. I'm not losing to Guy, Naruto said as he ran off with Kushina yelling at her son, telling him to slow down. Tenten, Sakura, Neji and Lee were still standing in the desert as the first three sighed. This is such a weird team, Tenten said before everyone turned to Lee. Neji? Fuck you, Lee, Neji said immediately, making everyone giggle at him as they ran off to catch up to the rest of their team. Somewhere near Akatsuki base, hee they got you good, Deidara-senpai, a man said with an orange mask, while another one with Zetsu chuckled at him while Deidara rolled his eyes. Shut up, Toby. Akatsuki are serious people. You've got no right to lecture me, Deidara said, but then Toby looked at him before rubbing the back of his head. Oh, please don't hurt me, no hand, senpai, Toby laughed, and Deidara twitched an eyebrow at him while he was getting his arms sewn back to his body. A shinobi's not only his arms, Toby. One more crack like that and I'll show you what I mean, Deidara returned while he saw the slow, not to mention agonizing, process of seeing his arms getting back together. Would you like a hand getting up, senpai? Oh wait, you don't have a hand to offer me, ha ha ha, Toby laughed while Zetsu sighed. That was the last crack, Black Zetsu said as he and his white half watched Deidara somehow bring Toby into a headlock with his legs while the somewhat new member of Akatsuki squirmed. You still think that's funny, Deidara asked as Toby gasped, but he was virtually fine as Deidara let him go about a few minutes before. Still, I can't believe that they gave you so much trouble. Were you able to find the Kyubi Jinchuriki? Zetsu asked, and Deidara showed great annoyance across his face. Are you fucking joking? He was nothing like Itachi said he was. I had to give a damn guess and I'm still not sure if I was right. Damn it, I'm gonna kill Itachi next time I see him, Deidara said as Zetsu sighed. Pain-sama won't be happy to hear that, but either way it's done. Now let's go, Black Zetsu said as they walked off. Konoha. 3 days later, Izumo and Kotetsu, 2 Chunin Gate guards, were watching the entrance to Konoha as usual with their bored expressions on their faces. Man, this job sucks. Does anything interesting happen? Izumo asked as Kotetsu flipped a kunai in his hands. I sure as hell want something to happen also, Kotetsu said to his partner before they heard yelling in the distance. Sochi, slow down, Databane. Kushina yelled as Kotetsu and Izumo watched Naruto enter Konoha with his mother in his arms. That's how you do it, Databeo. Naruto yelled as Kushina shivered in his arms. She sighed and hung her mouth open while she wondered how much of her life she lost in that small speed race her son had with the others. Well, that sucks for you, Guy-sensei, but I'm first, Naruto said as Guy came up behind him. Humph, well, second place isn't so bad, Guy said, but Naruto shook his head. No, Guy-sensei, you see. You didn't come in second. Ka-san is the winner of that. You sensei are in third place, Naruto said, and Guy dropped to the ground sulking. Naruto however didn't enjoy his celebration long as Kushina hit him on top of the head. Naruto, if you ever do that again I will find so many ways to kill you, even the Shinigami won't be able to help you, understand me? Kushina asked, and Naruto grinned as he kissed his mother's forehead, making her immediately blush while her anger quickly vanished. Clear as a bell, Ka-san, Naruto said as he set Kushina down, causing her to thank him even if that thank you was near inaudible due to what Naruto just did to her. Why yeah, well anyway it seems like everyone else has arrived, Kushina said as Lee, Sakura, Niji and Tenten came up to the gates also. Phew, we made it, but that level of intensity is ridiculous, Niji said as Tenten huffed before giving a light chuckle. Oh come on. They got us back to the village pretty damn fast I'd say, Tenten responded, and Niji simply shook his head at his teammate. Guy let Kakashi down as the Jonin wobbled a bit before regaining his balance slightly. Now then, all we have to do is report to Tsunade-sama that our mission was a success, Sakura said, but Kushina stopped her. Actually, why don't you all leave? I'm going to go have another talk with Tsunade and Kakashi about something. Sochi, why don't you head back to our house and I'll catch up later, Kushina said, and everyone wanted to retort, but the look on Kushina's face gave no room for argument, so everyone dropped it just as easily. Alright Ka-san, I'll see you later, Naruto said as he walked away. In truth, there was something he wanted to find out about, and he really wanted to find it out now. Now then Kakashi, let us go and see Tsunade. There are some things I wanted to know, but didn't get to ask as we had an emergency, Kushina said as she grabbed Kakashi and pulled him along with her in the direction of the Hokage mansion as everyone watched her leave. Naruto, your mother is one scary woman, Tenten said, and the blonde chuckled with a nod. He couldn't help but agree with her, even if he was blushing from the way she walked away with a slight sway in her hips making him gulp. Yeah, well, I'm going to go home. I think I should. See you guys later, Naruto said, wanting to hit his bed and calmly go to sleep without a care in the world, but before that there was something he needed to talk about with two people about something. He didn't know one of them personally, but he figured he'd rather ask. With Kushina and Kakashi came up to the Hokage mansion and quickly opened the door. They saw Tsunade writing documents before she looked up to see Kushina and Kakashi looking at her. Oh, I didn't know you guys were back. How did the mission go? Tsunade asked, and Kakashi nodded. It was a success, Hokage-sama, but it seems that Kushina would like a word with you, Kakashi said, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow while Kushina closed the door. Try a few words, Databane. Now Tsunade, I suggest that you order all the umbu in this room to leave before I make them, Kushina said, making Tsunade gulp. She wondered what Kushina wanted, but a violent Kushina wasn't the best option for her right now, and she did as Kushina wanted and dismissed all the umbu, and once Kushina felt them all leave she grinned as she placed up a privacy seal before walking up to Tsunade, making the Godame Hokage shrink under her gaze. Now then, before I was interrupted that week ago, please tell me why you didn't watch my son like I asked, Kushina said, and Tsunade sweated. Kakashi wasn't sure what this had to do with him, but he'd rather stay than to have Kushina on his ass at the moment. Kushina, I didn't know he survived the dash, Tsunade started, but Kushina stopped her. She was really beyond pissed, but she didn't explode as that wouldn't do anyone any good, and she wanted her damn explanation. Maybe if you stayed in the village then you would have known, Kushina said, and Tsunade narrowed her eyes as she slammed the desk with her hands. It wasn't that easy, Kushina. Tsunade yelled, but the redhead didn't back down in the least. Are you kidding me? You think I didn't know about Nawaki or Dan? Kushina asked, and Tsunade widened her eyes at the mentioning of her past lover and her brother. Who did you know about them? Tsunade asked, and Kushina sighed as she recalled her memory. Jiraiya told me. He kept saying how you were depressed that they died and how you left the village because of it. Is that your excuse? Kushina asked, and Tsunade wanted to retort, but she stopped and sighed. I'm sorry Kushina. I have no excuse for why I left. I hated Konoha because of multiple reasons. Nawaki and Dan were one of them. Another was because I hated the Hokage position and all it stood for. I found it weak and I wanted no part in it or the village. I honestly don't have a seemingly legit reason. People lose their loved ones all the time, but they pushed forward and dealt with it. I guess I was just a bit more weak-willed than others, Tsunade said, and Kushina sighed. She brushed a hand through her hair and settled for glaring at the Hokage. So why did you come back? Kushina asked, and Tsunade rubbed her temples. Your son. He really knocked some sense into me. I know I still wouldn't be back here if he didn't save me in that type of sense. I'm sorry I didn't help raise him, but I'm here now and I do rather enjoy his company when he isn't annoying, Tsunade said with a chuckle, and Kushina sighed. She really didn't have much of anything to say after that, but then she turned to see Kakashi getting up from his chair to leave. Don't think I'm done with you, Kakashi. You still didn't tell me why Naruto's training was so undermined, Kushina said, and Tsunade glared at Kakashi. The Jonin gulped and rubbed the back of his head. Kushina, Naruto's training had been going well. I'm sure you know that, Kakashi said before he saw Kushina grabbed his flak jacket. Going well? His taijutsu was atrocious, his ninjutsu was limited, and he was just all around slightly vulnerable. I had to reinvent his entire taijutsu at his age. He had certain muscle memories that were hard to get rid of because he wasn't taught right. Kakashi, you're a Jonin, and as one you are expected to teach your genin, not have them learn on their own. Both Jiraiya and I did a job that you should have done yourself, so what is your excuse? Kushina asked, tapping her foot impatiently. Kakashi gulped, then looked down in disappointment. I'm sorry, Kushina. Naruto was Minato-sensei's son and I know I could have done better. I knew about Naruto's taijutsu and I knew it wasn't great, but this all started when Sasuke was going to fight Gaara in the Chunin exams and you wanted Sasuke to be ready for him, is that right? Kushina asked, finishing Kakashi's sentence, to which the Jonin nodded. So you were preparing Sasuke to fight an, at the time, unstable Jinchuriki who Naruto still ended up beating anyway? Kakashi, if Naruto for a month could learn to use Kyuubi's chakra and use it to not only win his fight, but even take on Gaara, then I think that my son deserves at least some of your time, Kushina said, and Kakashi nodded. I understand, and I no Kakashi, you don't understand. Minato and I asked you to teach Naruto and make him a good shinobi that would make both his parents proud, and of course he's done that for me, but to hear that you only taught him teamwork and tree walking is very disappointing, Databane, Kushina scolded, and Kakashi took it all to heart. I'm sorry, Kushina. I have no excuses either. I'm sorry for it. I know Naruto had high potential, but Sasuke was the only one who really seemed to show his. I didn't mean to do this. I am sorry, Kakashi said before he received a huge hit on the top of his head. That's right, you're sorry, Databane, she yelled as Kakashi rubbed the lump on his head. She then turned to Tsunade and settled for a small glare as she headed to the door. Don't think you both aren't going to pay for this. Kakashi, I'll be taking over Sochi's training now, and Tsunade, I'll be talking to you about another matter that I want, Kushina said as she left the room, leaving Kakashi and Tsunade to breathe easily. She's still scary, Kakashi said, and Tsunade nodded while she started to work on documents again. Of course she is. She was, and this is the only Umbu-level shinobi who has a better record than you and Itachi. She has every right to be scary, Tsunade said as Kakashi took out his orange book while Tsunade glared at him. If she sees you with that, she's going to kill you, Tsunade said as Kakashi walked out of the room. Ma, I'll deal with that when it shows up, but I wonder what else she wanted to talk with you about, Kakashi said while Tsunade shrugged. Hell if I know. I just know it's going to give me a big headache, Tsunade said, and Kakashi grinned before closing the door. She then looked at the Hokage faces, or specifically Minato's face. Kushina's a pain, but she's right. I'm sorry I wasn't there for Naruto. Minato, Tsunade said with a heavy sigh before she turned back to her paperwork. She could only wonder what Naruto was doing at the moment for some reason. With Naruto he couldn't do it. For the first time in his life he knew he couldn't do something. He refused. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to knock on the Hyuga compound. Naruto stood in front of the doors and gulped. Stop being a chicken and knock. The Hyuga should be into that type of thing also. Who knows, maybe that girl Hinata and Niji. Shut up. Don't you dare even think that about them. I know Hinata-chan and Niji. They would never do that. Naruto stalled as Kyubi chuckled. Having second thoughts, his bijou asked and Naruto sighed. Ah, this is so weird. I'll just get this over with, Naruto said as he knocked on the door of the Hyuga compound. Soon a Hyuga came to the door and opened it. Imagine his surprise when he saw Naruto in front of the door. Uzumaki-san? How may I help you? The Hyuga asked and Naruto gulped. He felt his breath leave him for a few seconds, but he caught himself and nodded. Do you know if Hinata's father is here? If he's not, then that's fine, but I'd like to talk to him. It's sort of important, Dadabayo, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. He had seen Hinata's father only once, and that was during the Chunin exams. He had no idea what the guy was like. Well, Uzumaki-san, Hayashi-sama is in at the moment. I will see if you can have an audience with him, the Hyuga said as he closed the door while Naruto's eyebrow twitched. An audience? It's not like he was a damn commoner. He was actually quite rich now that he had his inheritance, which hadn't been used for about 15 years, so that actually made him and Kushina a little more than above the Hyuga clan itself. Naruto tapped his foot impatiently and gritted his teeth. There seemed to be quite a bit of arrogance with the Hyuga clan, and Naruto knew it somewhat. Soon the Hyuga came back and escorted Naruto inside. Hayashi-sama will see you. He said he has more than enough time to talk with you, the Hyuga said, and Naruto nodded. He quickly walked inside the Hyuga compound and looked around. It was rather quaint and nice looking. There was a little practice area along with a small garden and pond with koi fish swimming around. Naruto and the Hyuga walked until they were right in front of the place where Hayashi wanted to meet Naruto. The Hyuga bowed and turned around. Hayashi-sama is right behind that door, he said as he left, and Naruto immediately opened it. He saw an older-looking Niji behind the desk signing papers. Uzumaki-san, please come in, Hayashi said, and Naruto walked inside. He slightly gulped and noticed two mats in front of each other. He sat down on one and watched as Hayashi finished some paperwork. He quickly stood to his feet and sat on his knees while he was in front of Naruto. I was surprised when you wanted to come over. May I ask what you could want? Hayashi asked, and Naruto nodded. I'm sorry if I'm imposing on you or anything, but I'd like to ask you something about your clan, Naruto said, and Hayashi nodded. The blonde gulped while Kyubi tried to settle his nerves, but he wasn't the comforting type of person, or bijou or whatever. Alright, what would you like to know? Hayashi asked, taking a sip of tea while Naruto tried to get his thoughts together. Well, I know that you're has the Byakugan, and I know you try to keep the Hyuga bloodline clean, I think it is right? Naruto asked, and Hayashi nodded, although it was a bit with confusion. Well, that's right. We don't normally marry those outside of the clan, Hayashi said, and Naruto nodded. So do you guys find anything wrong with it? Naruto asked, and Hayashi raised an eyebrow. He set his teacup down and sighed. Please explain, the Hyuga head said to Naruto, and the blonde slightly cursed. Yeah, okay. I'm just saying that do your family members marry? Naruto asked, and Hayashi sort of had an idea on where this was going. He gave a mental smirk at what Naruto could want to talk with him about. Well, Naruto-san, in a simple word, yes, our family members do marry. By any chance is this about incest? Hayashi asked, and the reaction Naruto gave him was more than enough to convince him as the blonde blushed up a storm. Well, yeah, I guess it's about that. How does your family deal with it? Like, don't people find you weird for it? Naruto asked, and Hayashi shrugged his shoulders. I'm sure there are quite a few people who would find it strange, and that won't change, but there are a few reasons as to why we do this. One is, as you said, to keep the Hyuga line pure as we want. Granted, we don't force our members to marry each other, as they can date who they want. Heck, even some of our members find it weird while others seem to like it just as well. It's sort of a touchy thing to deal with. Though I am curious as to why you would be interested in such a topic, Hayashi said, and Naruto gulped. He saw Hayashi smile slightly, and the blonde sheepishly chuckled. Well, I just thought I'd ask Dadabayo. You know, always need to know something interesting. Wait, so does that mean that you dash? Naruto pointed at Hayashi, and the Hyuga chuckled. Practiced incest? Well, it's something I don't outwardly say, but since you asked, yes, I do, or rather did, Hayashi said, making Naruto slightly calm down. Did? Hinata's mother? What was she to you? Naruto asked, wondering if this was a sore subject for Hayashi to talk about. Well, Hinata's mother was my half-sister. We had the same mother, but not the same father. She and Hisashi, Niji's father, were born to the side branch while I was born to the main branch. I had always known that she was my half-sister. Namely, her name was Hinako. She was branded with the cage seal, as was Hisashi, but reluctantly I fell for Hinako, even though she was a side branch member. So against my clan and their opinion, I married Hinako, and she loved me too. We had Hinata and Hanabi without any problems, Hayashi said, looking out the window, and Naruto seemed fascinated by his story. You really loved her, didn't you? Naruto asked, and Hayashi chuckled. Hinako was a good woman. I know that. That's why I see so much of her in Hinata and Hanabi at times. No, Naruto-san, when you're growing up in the world, there is one thing you start to see for the first time. Is that people's opinions don't matter. Granted, they matter in what you want to do with your life at times, but in the case of who you give your heart to or who you love, then it doesn't matter in the least. Understand that you can't talk to anyone about this, Hayashi said with a glare, and Naruto grinned as he nodded. My lips are sealed, Dadabayo, and thank you, Hayashi-san. I also think you should talk with Niji more. He might liven up more if you do, Naruto said as he stood to his feet while Hayashi pondered the blonde's suggestion. Well, Uzumaki-san, if you want to be with your mother, then I certainly don't mind, Hayashi said, and Naruto immediately fell back and slammed his head to the ground. How did you dash? How did I know? Well, I saw the redhead who first dragged you past our compound. I was astonished to see Kushina-san, as I thought she died, but I checked her chakra signature and found it to be completely true that it was her. Never thought that you would have a thing for your mother. You really are unpredictable, as they say, Hayashi said, and Naruto rubbed his head. Could you not tell anyone about this? Ka-chan's already a nervous wreck about it as she is, and I don't want to push her into anything she might regret in the end, Naruto said, sighing, and Hayashi nodded. You don't tell my story and I don't tell yours, Naruto-san. Though I don't see why she's thinking over it. If I recall correctly, then the Uzumaki clan married family members also. I don't know why she's against it, Hayashi said, and Naruto sighed. That's what he was trying to figure out at the moment. Well, I'm going to go, Hayashi-san. Thank you for the talk, Naruto said, and Hayashi nodded. He watched the blonde leave before he slowly chuckled. Uzumaki-san, you really are interesting, like Hinata said you were, Hayashi said to himself before going back to his paperwork. With Naruto, the blonde walked back to his compound and thought about everything that Hayashi had told him. It wasn't like he expected anything from his mother, or maybe he did. She was easily the most beautiful woman he had known. Granted, he met a lot of women who he thought were cute. There was Sakura, Ayame, Anko, Kurenai, Koyuki, and even Hinata at one time, but his mother, there was just something about her that attracted him to her. Maybe it was all those years without a mother that made him that way, but even so he didn't seem to care that he loved his mother. He made that evident when he kissed her back in Suna. Man, that talk gave me more questions than it solved, Naruto said to himself as he opened the door to his house. He walked inside and looked around before he noticed that he was alone. His mother must still have been out doing whatever she wanted. Alright, so what should I do now? I guess I could train. Plus I still have to get Gaara's other kill or he'll be taken by next week today. Let me see, how can I do this? Naruto wondered, as figured he could just take a mission on it, but that wouldn't be an appropriate thing to do at the moment since he just got back. The blonde sat on the bed of his room while he slowly took off his clothes. He was about to get into his training outfit before he heard the door downstairs unlock, open, and then close. He figured his mother was home at the moment. However, he noticed that she didn't come upstairs. Naruto knew about his mother's sensory skills, so she must have noticed that he was home also. Well, I guess I'll do some training, Naruto said, about to open the door, but as he did he saw his mother right in front of the door, which scared the living hell out of him. How quiet could his mother walk to the point that he still thought she was downstairs? Hey Ka-san, I didn't hear you come up the stairs. What did you have to talk with Kakashi-sensei about? Naruto asked, and Kushina rubbed the back of her head. Just some nonsense to take care of. Nothing too interesting, Kushina responded, and Naruto settled for a quick nod. Well, I'm going to go train for a bit. I'll see you later, Naruto said as he walked past her, as he noticed his mother wanted to say something else, but he left before she could say what she wanted, which made Kushina sigh. She knew her son was giving her the space she wanted to think, but she didn't want him to avoid her. That just made it uncomfortable. Okay, so she couldn't lie. When her son kissed her it was great, perfect even. It was one of the greatest kisses she had in her life, but to receive it from your son seemed wrong for a reason. Kushina watched Naruto head into the fields to train the day away, and while he did that she stayed in her room thinking things over. Nighttime, Naruto dropped his sword as he dismissed his clones. He was sweating profusely and sighed. He still couldn't get the technique that the Shinigami was teaching him. It seemed like a joke that his sword could use some spiritual fire that was incapable of being extinguished. It sounded like a really bad jutsu technique. Well, Shin has never been one for jokes, and he doesn't have a sense of humor, as I've found out over the years, so I guess that's that, Naruto said before he felt a presence behind him. He narrowed his eyes and formed a grin. You know, if you're just going to sneak up behind me, then what's the point in me holding this contract anyway? Naruto asked as he turned around to see the Shinigami looking at him with its hardening gaze. At least you're starting to learn what you need to learn. Remember not to get overconfident. Those with arrogance don't interest me, and I trust that you know how I feel about that. Now then, on to something more important, the Shinigami said, and Naruto nodded. You mean other than the fact that you played me with that ability back in Suna? Naruto asked, and Shin sighed. One ability at a time, and I won't give you something that's over your head. I know you can handle more, I will give you more. Nothing more, nothing less, Shinigami said, and Naruto settled for a simple nod. Alright, so what do you want to talk about? Naruto asked, and the Shinigami narrowed his eyes. I'm here to tell you that there are people, perversions of life, that I want dead. As I've told you, everything dies at some point, but you humans are quite accepted to the idea of eternal life. I never understood why you lot want to live forever until the end of time, but that irks me to no end. People who think they can escape my grasp are made to have the full blunt of my rage, but even I have limits. Contrary to your belief, I can't take your life while you're alive. It's only when your soul starts to dwindle that I can do this, the Shinigami explained, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. But 2 years ago you told me about the fight you and Gigi had with the Shodame Hokage and Nidame, and how you sealed their souls. They were alive, weren't they? Naruto asked, and Shin nodded in a small agreement. Technically yes, they were, but those who have been in my domain are still classified as dead unless I say so. The people you've revived aren't dead, as I've revived them myself. That jutsu the Edo Tensei doesn't fully revive anyone, so I'm well within my power to take back those souls back, Shin answered, and Naruto nodded in agreement with him. So that's where I come in, since I can do it for you, right? Naruto asked, and the Shinigami nodded. He carefully placed his hand on Naruto's head, making the blonde raise an eyebrow. He gasped when saw multiple people flash through his head. He saw two in black robes with red clouds on them, same as that Deidara guy Naruto had seen. One had weird tendrils come from his arms, while the other had a triple blade scythe in his hands. Two were who Naruto knew all too well. He saw Orochimaru and Kabuto. He could only imagine the day that he would fight them and bring them down. Lastly was a figure who was distorted. His entire face was covered except for one orange mask that covered his entire face, only revealing one eye. The Shinigami removed his arm and Naruto dropped to the ground. Those people. I know two of them, but the others I don't. They're the ones who do this? Naruto asked, and the death god nodded, making Naruto sigh. Well, Orochimaru and Kabuto, I've always wanted to give them one, so I'll be more than happy to do it. I understand, Shin, Naruto said, and Shin nodded before leaving the blonde in the dark. Well, brat, I think things will get most interesting for us, Kyubi said, and Naruto nodded. He grinned like mad before heading back to the house. He noticed the light on in the bedroom of the upper room and sighed. He walked up the stairs and gulped as he stopped at the door. He suddenly got a weird sense of déjà vu from this experience. He knocked on the door, waiting for a reply. Just a second, Sochi, Kushina said as Naruto placed his ear to the door. He heard the sound of drying hair and the slip of something nice. He wondered if his mother was getting dressed for bed, which he figured he should also. He smelled like he had just been put through the jungle twice. Okay, you can come in, Kushina said as she had her back to the door. She was calmly humming while she brushed her hair. Naruto sighed as he went to his corner of the bed and placed his sword down. He quickly began to head for the door. Before Kushina stopped him. Naruto, when you come from the shower we need to talk, Kushina said, making it sound ominous, but Naruto merely nodded and left as he headed for the shower. He didn't take a long one, or as long as he wanted, since he was wondering what she wanted to talk about. He allowed the water to wash over his form for a bit and contemplated everything. He turned off the water and quickly put on some boxers and a sleeveless t-shirt. He came back into the room to see his mother at the foot of the bed, and she patted it for him to sit next to her. Naruto sat down and Kushina mumbled to herself before turning to her son. Naruto, about what you told me a few days ago back in Suna, I was initially surprised at your confession. Don't think that I hate you or that I avoided you. You know I love you, right? Kushina asked, and Naruto lowered his gaze to the ground. First the Shinigami, now his mother, this just wasn't his day. But only as your son, Naruto said, making Kushina pause. She slowly leaned her head on Naruto's shoulder, making Naruto take in the soothing smell of his mother's hair. Why do you want me to love you more than that? I don't understand, so help me, Kushina told him, and Naruto sighed. He rubbed the back of his head and thought it over. Because I want to be with you, mother. I don't want to force you into anything you wouldn't want, but I just love everything about you. The way you move, your smile, your upset face, and everything else. No one has ever made me feel that way, not even Sakura, Naruto said, and Kushina trembled underneath his words. That's it, Kit. Now go on the attack. Kyubi yelled, watching everything go down. This was better than all the destruction he could cause. Well, it wasn't better, but it was a close second to it. Naruto, you don't love me. You're only looking for some attention that you didn't get. Maybe you find that in me. It's understandable, Kushina said, and Naruto widened his eyes and stayed silent. It had been well over a minute and Naruto still didn't say anything. Kushina found the silence deafening and wondered if she should really take that back, but it's not like it would do any good now. Naruto, aren't you going to say something? Kushina asked in desperation of getting her son to talk to her. Naruto's eyes shadowed his eyes before he finally opened his mouth. Attention isn't the issue, Ka-chan. You might not believe it, but I'll prove it to you that I do, Naruto said as he grabbed his mother's shoulders, bringing her eyes to his. Kushina gasped at the initial action as she expected Naruto to kiss her again, but to her surprise and slight disappointment he stopped. Ka-chan, you said that most of society sees incest as wrong, right? Naruto asked, and Kushina slowly nodded and Naruto sighed. So how do you think clans keep their bloodline pure? Naruto asked, and Kushina stuttered. Her son just tried to find his own way around her words. She wasn't sure if she should be proud or scared of the fact. Naruto, that's a totally different matter, Kushina said, and Naruto shook his head before smiling. I went to the Hyuga compound, and do you know what Hayashi-san told me? Naruto asked, and Kushina shook her head, feeling her heart slightly twist. He said that when growing up you start to learn that people's opinion doesn't matter. I'm sure the Uchiha clan did it also. Hayashi-san even told me that maybe the Uzumaki did also. Ka-chan, I refuse to let you be alone. I'm not trying to take Tusan's place, but I want you to love me for me. My kiss to you back in Suna was unexpected to me also, but I don't regret it. Naruto paused as he snaked his arm around Kushina's waist. Then if I wasn't your son, would you love me? Naruto asked her, and Kushina mentally gulped. Now it was her turn to be silent as she was quickly losing her ground in the conversation. It was amazing that the woman who never lost an argument with her former lover, but now she could barely find her voice with her son. She'd never been courted so much before by anyone. Naruto even went so far as to get someone else's opinion on the matter to try and convince her. But Naruto, no buts, Ka-chan, Naruto said as he quickly kissed her again, just like he did a few days ago in Suna. Kushina gasped as she tried to push Naruto off, but to her surprise her son grabbed her arms, keeping her still. Kushina felt her mind spiral out of control along with her feelings. She could feel her son's emotions pouring out for her as he deepened the kiss with her. Naruto slowly started to push his mother, and before long he pinned her to the bedroom wall. Naruto, what do you see in me? Kushina asked as Naruto stopped for a second. He smiled as he licked his lips, making his mother slightly gulp. I see a beautiful woman with awesome red hair, an amazing personality, and a kindness that attracts me to her. My mother is an amazing woman, Dadabayo, Naruto said, and Kushina widened her eyes. Kushina felt her hands shake as they started to get weak along with the last of her resolve, while Naruto's tongue begged for some acceptance, and little by little Kushina opened her mouth to allow her son the access he wanted. Naruto grinned as he quickly made the kiss more passionate between them as he reached behind his mother's head to bring her closer. Inside his mind, Kyubi was jumping up and down like a maniac while eating some popcorn. Yeah, Kit. Get it done. This is getting good, Kyubi thought as Naruto separated from Kushina, making her slightly whimper. Her actions were completely betraying her thoughts. She admitted to being sexually frustrated, and her was someone willing to make her happy and provide that for her. Her mind yelled for her to stop and try to get back the mother-son relationship that they should have, but her body refused to push Naruto away from her. It more or less brought him closer, like she didn't want him to leave her alone. Naruto nibbled on his mother's right ear, getting a small moan from her which was pleasant to his ears. Naruto hadn't imagined that he could bring his mother to this state. He rubbed one of his hands along her curves while Kushina gasped. Naruto, you need to stop, Kushina said as she felt her son's hand go up to her nightgown. She quickly gasped again as she grabbed her son's hand and pushed him off her. Her breathing hitched as she tried to find a way to calm down. Ka-chan? Naruto asked, and Kushina's breathing slowed. She huffed and looked at her son. She slowly calmed down and looked at the bed. She looked, in a word, confused. Like she was lost in her own feelings. Naruto, I can't stay in this room with you. I'm going to sleep in the guest room from now on. I don't think that we should be around each other for a couple of days, Kushina said as she got up and carried herself away. But Ka-chan, Naruto tried to say before he saw Kushina close the door. Wow. Never saw that coming, Kyubi said in thought as Naruto sighed. He narrowed his eyes at the bed and slightly cursed. Kyuso, Naruto said as he stayed on his side of the bed. Both he and Kushina didn't get any sleep that night as they went over everything that happened between them. 3 days later Naruto was walking towards the Hokage mansion with a heavy sigh. It had been 3 days since their moment, but him and his mother stopped talking and avoided each other. Kushina would still cook him breakfast, lunch and dinner, and she would spare with him for a few hours, but nothing apart from that had changed. Naruto even had a mission by himself to deal with some bandits, and the blonde took it with little to no enthusiasm, which Kakashi, Sakura and Tsunade noticed, but on that note Naruto had gotten the other sacrifice for Gaara's life, and that was the end of that, but as he got back he was told that there was another mission for him, so he was currently on his way. Naruto didn't waste any time as he walked up the stairs. He slowly sighed as he opened the door. To his surprise he saw his mother, Kakashi and Sakura in the room. Kushina glanced at him before removing her stare from him just as fast as she looked at him. Tsunade looked at the both of them and rolled her eyes. Something was going on between these two, but they could figure it out themselves. Finally, brat, you made it. Now I can tell you some new news, Tsunade said, and Naruto stayed a couple of feet from his mother, but Tsunade ignored it. Alright Tsunade-bachan, what is the news? Naruto asked, and Tsunade sighed. Well, for one, you're not going to be a part of Team 7 anymore, Tsunade said, and Naruto widened his eyes along with Kakashi and Sakura. But why? What did I do? Naruto asked, and Tsunade rubbed her temples. Tsunade-sama, Naruto has always been a part of our team. Why are you splitting us up? We might not be the best team, but we work well with each other, Sakura reasoned, and Tsunade nodded. Sakura, calm down. It's not as heavy as you think it is. As it stands by Kushina's standards, Naruto is a Kenjutsu master, making him one of 4 shinobi who are above Jonin level for using Kenjutsu. There is him, Kushina, Kakashi, and our Umbu, Yugugo Yuzuki, Tsunade said, and Sakura raised an eyebrow. You want to put together a group of Kenjutsu users? She asked, making Tsunade chuckle slightly, but she shook her head. That's not it, Sakura, and while that is an interesting thought, I'll set it aside. As for my orders, since they have the most trust and teamwork, I'll have Naruto and Kushina paired up for the time being, Tsunade said as Kushina and Naruto widened their eyes. Naruto spared a glance at his mother, who looked at him also. Are you sure, Bachan? I'd rather not trouble my mother if I can help it, Naruto said, and Kushina slowly calmed down, if only slightly, at those words as a small smile graced her face. Even in their situation she could still laugh and smile at how concerned Naruto was for her and her wants. It's alright, Sochi. I don't mind it if we're a team. I trust you more than a lot of people, Kushina said, and Naruto slowly nodded, wondering what the change of attitude was. Alright then, as for you and Kakashi, Sakura, the both of you will be given 2 new teammates as of today, but for your mission. Kakashi, Sakura, you and your new team are going to intercept the messenger at the bridge that Sasori told you about. You are to arrive there fast. I wanted any information about Orochimaru to be dealt with swiftly. You leave in an hour, Tsunade told them, making Kakashi and Sakura nod. They both turned to Naruto and sighed. Naruto shinobi have different experiences, so I'm sure you'll be fine, Kakashi said as he left Naruto, then turned to Sakura. I'll find out all I can about Sasuke-kun for us, Naruto, Sakura said as she left, with Naruto rolling his eyes. Not gonna respond to that one. No way, Naruto said in thought, making Kyubi chuckle. Are you kidding? 2 years ago it was, I'm gonna bring him back Ero Sennin even if I am a fool for the rest of my natural life. Granted, yes, you are a fool and an idiot, but you're interesting enough, Kyubi said, and Naruto snorted. Ah, Kyubi, I didn't know you cared enough to find me interesting, Naruto said, and Kyubi snarled. Ha ha ha, keep crackin', jokes brat. I'll kick your ass one of these days, Kyubi said to his container while Naruto giggled. Bring it on furball, Naruto responded before he snapped out of his stupor and back to Tsunade attention at the two Kenjutsu users. Now then Kushina, Naruto, this mission will be an A-ranked one given that the chance of danger is very high and likely. You will both be infiltrating one of Orochimaru's bases that our Umbu have recently discovered, Tsunade said, making the two widen their eyes. The odds of meeting Orochimaru are high and it's also possible that Sasuke might be there. Naruto, Kushina, your mission is to find out anything you can from this base that is of importance to Konoha. If you find Sasuke, you are to apprehend him and return him to Konoha. You leave in a few hours. Any questions? Tsunade asked, making Kushina and Naruto shake their heads. Good, then you can both be off and please no problems, Tsunade said as Kushina and Naruto stared at each other. Both diverted their gazes while Naruto spoke. Any problems, Ka-chan? Naruto asked and Kushina shook her head. No problem, Sochi, Kushina said as Naruto opened the door and allowed his mother to walk out with him following while Tsunade sighed. There is going to be problems. I need a drink, the Godame Hokage said in thought as she signed some documents while thinking about Naruto and Kushina for some reason. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.